Boelter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf.
Today, Burleson, you're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
What's up, guys, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you for this roundtable to talk about the Seahawks and Atlanta Falcons game coming up. Sorry for the delay. I just had a bunch of things going on this afternoon, broke down my camera setup and had to reset everything up. So I appreciate your guys' patience, as well as the panel, the roundtable gang who's going to be joining me in just a second. So thank you for hanging in there. In the background, waiting for this to start, but we are rolling. I can't wait to talk about this. Can you believe it? Finally, football season, after what feels like years of waiting for the season to finally take off. It officially starts tomorrow, but Seahawks getting their first game in on Sunday against the Falcons. We're going to get into it and talk about this game, what we expect to see happening, and any late news here that might affect the outcome of that game. So before we get into the panel here, I just want to remind everybody, please hit that like button, the subscribe button, and that notification bell. Same thing for all the panelists here. They all have their YouTube channels, so please do the same for them. It's greatly appreciated. So let's go. Here it is. This is the panel. We're doing this thing. Guys, it's here we are, but let me just kind of quickly go around the horn and just bring everybody up. First of all, we've got, we'll start on the top right there. We got Noah of the Bolt, regular on the round table. Noah, how's it going, man?
Doing pretty good. Pullman's been wishy-washy with the weather lately. Thankfully, we haven't had as much smoke over here as you guys have had over there. So God bless you guys, and I wish you the best of breathing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I'll talk about that in a second. Right on my shoulder here, we have Steve J. Smith, Calvin Domingo.
Hey.
What's up, man? Welcome back to the show.
It's always a pleasure to be on. Thank you, Norb.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we've got, he was new on the show last week, but he's back for another round. Can't believe he actually agreed to this, but apparently it wasn't a terrible experience. Brian Abker, the myth, the legend. I love this guy. Former KJR radio sports anchor, and you gave me a lot of opportunities to be on your show, so I'm glad I can repay the favor to you. But I love what you bring to the show. So, Brian, I'm glad you came around for a second round here to talk about Seahawks-Falcons. Welcome back, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. I can't believe you guys had me back. So, yeah, I'm thrilled. This is fun. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. And then a newcomer to this panel. I had him once before on a kind of a separate panel a few weeks ago. But Nick Lebeau, Nick, you are probably one of the youngest. You're kind of taking the place of young Seahawks Martin, who couldn't make it today because he's busy working on his Mozart, piano practicing there. But Nick, you impressed me. You know a lot about football, and you are actually very persistent. So you're intelligent and persistent, which I think will make you go far. So you are taking the place. Cameron Hughes actually was going to be on the show, but he couldn't make it. So Nick, very nice of him to chat with Cameron and said, hey, you can take my place. So here's Nick. So Nick, welcome to the panel for the first time. How you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for having me on again. It's awesome to be back. I've been on the Bolt once before. I love that. And, everyone here around me is so intelligent. And so, yeah, it's awesome to be here.
All right. And I think it's fun. It's fun to get a different perspective on things because, I'm on the older generation. And Brian's kind of up there with me. But they got the guys who are in college already making their choice to do this as a career for themselves. And then we got Nick, you're 12. Is that right? Is that how old you are?
13.
13, dude. 13. Don't get it right.
13, man. So you got your whole future ahead of you. But all I know is that if I was 13, there's no way I'd be on some TV show or broadcast show talking about sports and stuff. There's no way I would have done it. So props to you, man, for even doing this. It's awesome that you're putting yourself out there. So let's see. So before we get into the deep analysis of the game, Noah, you were just talking about the weather out there. So part of the reason why I was late coming to this is I had the last-minute opportunity to go to CenturyLink Field because I got an email from the Seahawks PR department saying, hey, you've been selected to be part of one of the stories of the Tales of the 12, which is where they do a little interview with you and talk with you about your experience as a fan, and then they would normally put it up on the big screen during the games. But unfortunately, of course, we have no games to put the video on. So they're doing these on social media. So I had the opportunity to go out there to CenturyLink and do a little video chat and interview. So that'll be coming out pretty soon. So that was fun just to even be out there to CenturyLink. I haven't been out there in a long time. Just to walk, down the halls. I got to walk in the players, like the little back entrance area of the stadium, which was cool. Never been back there before. But while I was there, I thought, I'm in the midst of finishing this prediction music video of mine. I said I would drop in on Friday, so I'm in that mad procrastinating rush to get it done now, right? So I thought I'll just go outside and shoot a few scenes since I'm already here at the stadium. Why not? So I went out to the front of the parking lot at the north end, where the view of the stadium looks really beautiful from that north parking lot looking down at it. Looks great, shots look great, but man, it was so freaking hot today. It was like 90 something, at least 91, 92, probably between 91 and 95 degrees. So man, I was dying out there. Plus, with all the smoke and everything, it's just like there's just all this the haze and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty nasty out there, I tell you, man. But Noah, so how are things out there? I know that there's all parts of the area of Washington getting affected by all these fires and stuff like that. But how about you, Noah? How are things out there in your neck of the woods over in Pullman?
The skies are clear. There are not very many clouds here ever since I got here. So that's one thing I'm getting acclimated to. We played basketball outside for the first time the other day. It was pretty hot, pretty hot, pretty sweaty. So I'm enjoying the weather here. I think it's pretty great.
Well, I'm glad that so far the Wazoo experience is treating you well so far. So, and Nick, remind me where you're from. Are you from the Pacific Northwest, or are you?
Yes, I live in Bellevue, which
okay,
is,
so you're just up the road.
You guys don't know, it's like
just up the road. All
a couple minutes away from Seattle, just a bridge away. But can I pop in and say something?
Go ahead.
So I want to actually give a shout out. It is Rishi Oscote's birthday, or it was yesterday. So happy
Rishi.
birthday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Rishi, he's been on the show before. He's very smart, won the trivia contest multiple times. So happy birthday, Rishi. Awesome. And of course, I got to shout out the twins, Anthony D and his brother Quentin. They had their birthday earlier this week. They're twin brothers, so they saw like the Shaquille and Shaquem brothers. They share the same birthday. And those guys are big fan supports of mine, so I appreciate those guys. So happy birthday, belated birthday to Anthony and Quentin. All right, so I am doing a trivia today. That's part of why I was also last minute putting that together at the last second. I wanted to put something together. It's going to be being that this week is so momentous in the sense that it's the first game of the year, playing against an old rival in the Falcons, and of course it's when I'm dropping my music video, so there's going to be a lot of that in this trivia, just so you guys know.
Nice,
all right,
nice.
So if you don't know either of those things, you guys are in big trouble. All right, so let's get into this. Seahawks-Falcons, we have some history with these guys. We've played them quite a bit, it seems like almost every year it feels like. And we've had playoff games, we've had regular season games, we've won some, we've lost some, but we're in a very unique situation now, starting with the stack cards against us a little bit, being that we're on the road, 10 a.m. start, rough way to start the year, but we've done it before, and we'll have to do it again. So let's see. Let's start here with Brian. Let me go to you. Let me just get your initial feeling about this game. We can get into the X's and O's a little bit later, but just your overall feel going into this opening season. How do you feel about just this matchup and the fact that we're getting to watch some football for the first time in what feels like forever? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, and before I get into that, as long as you guys are doing shout-outs, I'm going to give a shout-out to somebody who's been hitting me up on Facebook. I don't know this person. His name is Tyler Parcher, but he keeps asking for a shout out, so I'm here to oblige and get some folks some shout outs. So shout out to you, Tyler.
Tyler's another good friend of mine. He's been supporting my channel for a long time, and he's a good kid, so I'm glad guys watch it. So yeah, thank you for doing that shout out.
That's good news. Appreciate you watching. Okay, so as far as how I feel about the season, I'm extremely optimistic about the season. I have been since the end of last season. I have been throughout the entire offseason with the additions and after the draft. And, I've been saying that this is a 12-win team that's going to be on a legitimate Super Bowl run. They could win 13 games. But as far as this opening game going into it, I'm not hugely confident. This is one of the 4 losses that I would not be surprised to happen. You're talking about a fairly younger team in some crucial positions, especially on defense. going on the road without having a preseason to a very experienced veteran offense. It's just a very tough combination. I'm not saying the Seahawks are going to lose. I'm just saying I don't expect them to win this game. If they do lose, I don't care what the loss looks like. This is a game that I just kind of scratch off the list and chalk up to first game on the road, no preseason, no time to gel, and you should not expect to see that type of game from the Seahawks again. Now, with that being said, this team certainly has enough talent to go in and get the win. I'm just not super confident that they're ready yet to face a veteran-looking team like the Falcons and Matt Ryan.
Well, who's really ready with the kind of offseason that we've had, right? Everybody's been faced with just bizarre circumstances, no preseason games, trial by fire, right? So really the team that's got the most experienced guys are going to probably have the advantage in here.
And the teams that are going to be going on the road and making the longer distance trips are going to be at a disadvantage as well, sure. Especially if they have a lot of guys that haven't gone on the road before. Preseason's great. Some fans don't like it because they pay more for their season tickets, and that are the same amount that they do for the regular season, and that's always been a bone of contention. But as a fan, I love preseason. It gives me a chance to scout my team, watch players that I watched in college develop all around the league. But it also gives your younger guys a chance to go through the process of being professional, how to prepare for a road game, how to get yourself up in the morning, how to pack your luggage, what to bring, how to get up, what routine to be in. Those are all things that you have to experience for the first time before you can really be in it. You can be told by the veterans how to do it, but until you've done it yourself, that lack of experience can affect everything you do.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So let's. I do want to get kind of everybody's kind of a score prediction at the end. I want to save that for later. You got to dangle that carrot so the viewers want to see what you guys think. So, Brian, you've already kind of given a hint at that, but I would want to get.
Don't know.
You
don't know.
You said that you wouldn't be surprised. So, I would want to get that official prediction from you at the end there. But let's go around the horn here. Let's go to Calvin. Calvin, what's your just kind of general thoughts about this game going in at this stage right now, without getting too much detail on the X's and O's?
I mean, generally we tend to start off, every season pretty slow. I think that last season, although we beat the Bengals in week 1, we didn't really look like ourselves. I think that this season, that kind of changes a little bit. I think that us going into Atlanta, it's going to be tough playing down there, but last season we were 5-3 on the road. And so I'm not as concerned with us traveling to Atlanta. I get that a lot of teams or a lot of people haven't been traveling as much, obviously, because of the situation around us. But I'm not worried at all. I think that thankfully, we're not starting a whole lot of players who don't have experience. A lot of our guys are vets. And so we have a whole lot of veterans who will be ready to play, I feel like, and we should expect fireworks. I think that Atlanta has the potential to be a top 5 offense. And I think that we also have the potential to be a top 5 offense simply because of the weapons that they have, weapons that we have. They got Todd Gurley. As long as he's healthy, I think that he could put up numbers this season. He's going to help them tremendously. And I can't wait.
All right, yeah, it's a lot of familiar names on the other side of that football. So some guys who've made it very hard on us. Todd Gurley, when he was in a different colored uniform, man, he was just like tearing us apart for a while there. But now he's going to be doing it in an Atlanta Falcons uniform, which will be weird to see. But let's go to Nick. Let me get your thoughts on this game coming up here. How excited are you to finally see some Seahawks football, man?
So I'm super excited for football to finally be back. It's been like this long wait, and it doesn't even feel like it's back, without preseason. But yeah, I think this is really going to be an interesting and close game. We got a lot of units kind of to look at out for. The offensive line, which is really kind of revamped and new. The surprise of camp with Ethan Posick beating out B.J. Finney. The defensive line, which is new. We added Benson Mayowa, L.J. Collier's coming back, Alton Robinson as a rookie. Secondary, of course, with Jamal Adams, Quentin Dunbar, which Pete Carroll's still saying that he's at a battle with Trey Flowers, but I think it's definitely going to be Dunbar starting. I agree that both teams have holes, but yeah, I think it's going to be a really close game.
Yes, I can't argue with that. So before I continue, I got to recognize some guys who are being very supportive in the Super Chat right now. Dukes of Hazzard, who's a regular viewer and contributor to the Super Chat. Thank you so much. He says, hope all is well and safe out there. Take care and go Hawks. Yes, absolutely. Take care and go Hawks. Also to I'm a random guy with a Super Chat. Would you ever collab with Urinating Tree and 5 Points Vids in the Dumpster Fire channel? I have no idea what you're talking about. The names are something to behold, though. I'll have to go check that out and see what that's all about. You got my attention for sure. But, all right. So, so I'm just excited about just to be able to finally see some football. It's going to be weird, the fact that we didn't have our usual preseason warm-up to kind of just break ourselves in slowly, watch some kind of messy football, watch some starters, non-starters. It's like right into the real deal here. And for some of these guys, just jumping on the field for the first time. You mentioned, Nick, you talked about Quinton Dunbar, about him being the likely starter. I think we all felt a sigh of relief when it was like, hey, all the charges have been dropped and they're not going to, no evidence. Suddenly, yesterday, this news report pops in saying, but they have new information in this personal phone records that could bring Quinton Dunbar, his case back open again. Just make you go, are you kidding me? Just when we thought we could finally call that one good, that pops into the equation. I did look at that article. I have some thoughts on it, but have you guys read that? Have you guys had a chance to look at that story? I'd like to get your thoughts on it. If you feel like this no news, bad news, irrelevant. Brian, give me your thoughts on that story. Do we have to worry about Quinton Dunbar getting into legal trouble again and possibly missing time on the field, or is this just a bunch of nonsense?
Well, I think there's always a concern, depending upon how big or small it is. But anytime anybody's in sort of a legal situation, there's always a concern. But from everything that I've read, it sounds like that this is not new information. This is just information that's been gathered based on what they'd already been told was out there. Then they finally went and collected it on the cloud. The circumstances of what the nature of what was said in the text messages about Dunbar being a part of orchestrating this had already been put out there verbally and said that it was in the text. But the way the texts were written still doesn't prove anything, and this is according to Dunbar's attorney. Now, you always have to take what an attorney says with a grain of salt, especially when he's defending his client. He's never going to say anything that's not positive, doesn't put that person in the correct light. But you have to believe that the Seahawks have done their due diligence. They have investigated this with their own investigators, their own follow-through, and I don't believe that Dunbar would be in the position to be taking up so much time running with the ones now that he's been back in and be considered to be the starter against Atlanta if there was a concern that there was going to be something coming up at least before this Falcons game. So as far as my concerns, I have none before this Falcons game. We'll see what transpires next week.
Okay, so I heard about the story, and then Noah, you were sending me some information saying, hey, you should check out the recording, which I did, and it kind of confirmed, because I was like, I didn't really hear anything new in there, and I think that was the point. Noah, you want to talk about that, just a little bit about what you found in investigating the story a little bit deeper? Kind of supports what Brian is saying as well.
Well, here's the thing. Like, when we first talked about this, I said I can build a case as to why Dunbar is free. We built cases as to why Dunbar didn't do anything wrong. But I got to be honest. My gut feeling goes against Brian's, goes against Dunbar's, and I have a feeling that he's guilty. And the reason being, he keeps getting brought back. There's so many conflicting reports going back. Like, a lot of the things that he does, that, like, he doesn't really have anything that proves that he didn't do it. But there are a lot of signs that are showing that he might have been involved. Unfortunately, there's CCTV footage of him leaving the community, right? He's in a Lambo. Well, during the phone call when Johnson, Dominic Johnson, who was a former coach, and he knew DeAndre Baker and Quinton Dunbar in the past growing up, he called the police against DeAndre Baker, but he didn't say anything about Dunbar. But he did say there was a white Lambo leaving with one of the suspects. It could have been another Lambo, but Dunbar was also leaving in a Lambo. There's a lot of evidence situationally. There have been people, because Dominic's texts of essentially were given a warrant, and now everything, his whole iCloud has been scanned, it's been watched, it's been looked at by representatives of the attorney's office, right? Of the prosecutors. Well, what else they found was that people are saying Dunbar and Baker thought they could get away with it. While Baker did it more stupidly and he actually held a gun, while Dunbar didn't hold a gun, people have been texting back and forth, and none of it's like proved, obviously, because they don't have any they haven't charged Dunbar again, thankfully. But there are text messages going back and forth about how they thought because they're in the NFL, they can have the little guy basically take the fall. And we've heard guys like Chris Carter, we've heard guys like Shannon Sharp talk about the fall guy that always rides with these NFL guys that Greg Robinson was supposed to have when he got caught with 150 pounds of weed in his car. And that's the guy that essentially, if you guys get in trouble for something illegal that's happening, the NFL guy gets off the hook because he blames the fall guy. So if you're hanging out with a guy in the NFL and you're doing illegal stuff, you're going to be the fall guy. Well, honestly, I think there are fall guys in the scenario. I think Dunbar wasn't as stupid as Baker with how he went about this. But honestly, my gut feeling is telling me that Dunbar is guilty. But that doesn't mean that he's going to get in trouble. That doesn't mean he's going to get convicted. They still have not convicted him. They still haven't charged him. And while yes, Brian, you're right. You got to take what the lawyer says with a grain of salt. The lawyer also said that he hasn't been reached out about any charges yet as well. So,
that doesn't mean anything. And sorry to cut you off, Noah, but I don't know what your experience is with the actual law. I don't know if you've studied the law or worked with attorneys. But what you said is true. He very well could be guilty. He might be guilty. I might think he's guilty. That has nothing to do with anything at all about this case. Not a single thing. He could have done it. He could be 100% guilty. He could have been the mastermind. It's not what you know, and that's not what you think. It's what you can prove. And the fact is that when you don't bring a case against somebody as a district attorney, then you know you don't have anything because they want it. They want these NFL guys bad, and they will do whatever that they can to get the right evidence to at least bring them up on charges. It's going to make a name for themselves. It's going to make a name for their firm, and it's only going to do good things for the legal side of notoriety. So my whole point is I'm not worried because if they had anything, none of this information is new. All it's being done is brought to light to you, to me, to Norb, to this panel, to all the fans out there. They've had this information the entire time, and they still haven't done anything with it. That's why I don't think it's going to affect Dunbar. I agree with you. I tend to lean toward your side when I feel like I think Dunbar had a pretty significant hand in it, but that's just my opinion based on what I've read. Neither one of us were there. Neither one of us have talked to any victims or anybody or any party affiliated with it. So we can only go on the information that we're fed through the media. And from that information, I agree with you. But from the information I know about the law, I'm not concerned about him getting kicked off the team, losing time as a Seahawk, or being brought up on charges.
Well, and I think I don't know if this is getting misconstrued, but that's actually the point that I'm making. I think that moving forward, while I think he is guilty within the law, he still has a definite angle that he could take with this whole thing. Going way back to in the beginning, when a gun gets pulled, you do what you're told. That was a phrase that I applied to the situation. I still think there's plausible deniability. I am not going to sit here and say, though, that I'm not concerned about this situation, because as more information comes out, my gut feeling, your gut feeling is telling us both that this guy seems guilty. While, yes, I still think there's more information to come out, the court system is slow. The court system takes time. They're still going to be finding more text messages about guys. There's a whole bunch of stuff connecting these guys to paying $80,000, and there are witnesses to a phone call where Dunbar admitted to paying the guys $80,000 after then saying, and I still didn't do anything, but what else is he going to say? So I'm not fully not concerned. I share some concerns. I feel that, like I felt before, we can't go forward relying on him as our number one corner and not have any backup plan in case the law does get in the way, because I feel like at some point this season it very well might. So because of that, I wish we would have brought in a guy like a Logan Ryan, but I don't think it's like fully like convict him yet either. I think there's a chance that he could stay with us, but I'm not as confident as Brian.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And by the way, Flowers is the backup plan. I thought about Logan Ryan for a while too, but I've been hearing through players that I know that he's a little crickety, little old, little slow, not like we saw him last when he played. So from that standpoint, a team like the Seahawks, who it looks like he would have been perfect for, didn't even really give him a run or take a look at him. So I think there's a reason behind that. Sorry, Norb, go ahead.
Oh no! So my feeling on this, and I will definitely want to move on to get to this Atlanta Falcons discussion, is I think you guys are both right. My gut is I listened to the phone recording conversation from that guy Johnson who knew both DeAndre Baker and Quinton Dunbar, and in that 911 call he never mentions Quinton Dunbar being the guy doing it. He only mentions DeAndre Baker. They say a guy robbed me at this event, and it's DeAndre Baker of the Giants. I mean, very clearly says one guy, and that was before all the stories been changed after the paying off of the witnesses and all that stuff. So the initial call to 911 was very clearly putting the accuser as accusing DeAndre Baker of being the one. So I feel like that's whatever happens. I think 2020. It probably won't affect him on this team. If it does happen because of all the delays and everything, it may not get to anything until to next season. I mean, look at what happened with our linebacker who's no longer with us with the team. What was he had that white collar crime with inside trading? Kendricks. I mean, I don't even know if that thing's been resolved still, but that thing got pushed back like 1 month, 2 months, next year. I mean, that thing, he just kept playing football, and that thing just kept getting pushed along. So I feel like this might take a while even if it gets to that point. So hopefully it doesn't, and we just never hear about this again. But I think we'll see him. Whether he'll be ready or not for Sunday, that's another question. He's missed some practices, but I think he will be around for most of this 2020 season. All right, real quick before we get into the Seahawks-Falcons stuff, Super Chat, Sports Live in the ATL, who was I have a collaboration with on this game, so we got some things at stake here to see who wins because loser's going to have to pay up. He says, this Brian dude is all right, go Falcons. So, Brian, you got a new fan in Sports.
Oh, yeah, a Falcons fan, that's all I need.
David's a good guy. All the way down in Atlanta. He's a diehard Falcons fan, but he likes you. Alina Dahl in the Super Chat also says, in honor of Sports Live in the ATL, the guy I just mentioned, go Hawks all the way. So Alina is obviously aware of our little wager that we have going on. So let's talk about that game, upon which I have so many things riding on, pride just being one of them, but also a bet. All right, let's go into this. What is the biggest concern? Let's go to Calvin because I haven't heard from Calvin in a while. What is your biggest concern about Atlanta? What are you most afraid of that Atlanta can, win this game? Because what do they do particularly well?
Score the football. They've been top 5, if not top 3, if not top 1 in the last 3, 4, 5 seasons with Dirk Cutter, our offensive coordinator, Matt Ryan, our quarterback. They're always amongst the league leaders in pass attempts a game, and it leads to great results. Maybe not necessarily in wins, but in terms of statistics, they're always placed in the top 3 in terms of points per game, yards per game. And I think that this season, their offense could potentially take another step forward and maybe even finish as number 1. I'm very high on Calvin Ridley. I think I have him in every single one of my fantasy teams, and I'm in 4 leagues this year. I just think that he's going to explode going into his 3rd season. Last season, he missed about 3 or 4 games, and if he would have played a full 16-game season, the numbers that he accumulated would have extrapolated to about 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns over 16 games. I think that he's going to be the next Chris Godwin. And with that, I mean that he's going to be, I think, a receiver that comes out of nowhere to post 1,200, 1,300-plus yards. I think that both him and Julio will eclipse 1,200 yards. I think that having Julio opens up things for Calvin Ridley. He's a very smooth, precise route runner. They love to target him in the red zone rather than Julio. I don't know why, but Calvin Ridley scores touchdowns. He has 17 in 2 years. I think that they also added tight end Hayden Hurst. Excuse me. I know that in Baltimore he wasn't used very exclusively that they stuck with Mark Andrews, but I think that being that he has a first-round pedigree, he's only been in the league for a couple of years. I think that he had some athleticism and some, I think, potential at the tight end position. Obviously, we mentioned Todd Gurley earlier. He seems to have a number on our defense. I think that, as I also mentioned, I think that's going to be a shootout. I think that we have the potential to outlast them in the shootout just because we have Russell Wilson, and we obviously all know about the magic that he can create at the end of games. And I think that we can replicate what we did last season. A lot of people are expressing their concern, saying that our record in close games isn't sustainable. I think that it is sustainable. People forget about the quarterback that we have. We have arguably the best quarterback in football. And so I don't really get the logic behind our record in close games not being sustainable, especially when you look at the fact that now we're going to have a upper echelon offense. Hopefully we have an improved defense. There's nowhere to go but up. And so that's the way I look at the game. I'm just a little afraid that they might score a little too many points, and then we play conservative again. We fall behind, and Russell Wilson's forced to do a whole lot of heavy lifting in the fourth quarter, and then we end up just falling short. That's what I'm kind of afraid of. But aside from that, I'm very excited, and once again, look for a whole lot of fireworks.
Yeah, a lot of fireworks for sure. I guess one of the nice things about this pandemic year that we're playing in, normally playing in Georgia, it's a dome, a pretty hostile crowd down there. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have to worry about that. That's the same thing when teams come to our place, they won't have to deal with the 12s. So it's an advantage that's removed. So potentially for our offense, they won't have to deal with that. I know they'll be piping in some noise, which I don't really agree with that idea because it opens up a lot of, potential inequities from one stadium to the next. However, as a whole, I don't think you can replicate the crowd energy that can just overwhelm you, especially for these rookies. So I think it kind of helps them in that regard. Let's go to Nick and see what you think about this game. What's your biggest concern about the Falcons?
Yeah, so I got to agree with Calvin. It's definitely scoring because, they got a top offense. I mean, on paper, at least, there's always, you got to perform. While they do have holes in their offensive line, we got holes in our defensive line. They got Todd Gurley coming. Apparently he's healthy. We'll have to see if that's true. If he can return to what he was a couple seasons ago with the Rams, that's going to be very dangerous. And, Julio Jones, he's like a top 3 receiver in the NFL. Calvin Ridley, too. They're both going to score points. And, yeah, it's definitely with Calvin on scoring. I think what we need to do as a defense is not only get to the quarterback, get to Matt Ryan, but I think it's really going to be our secondary that needs to step up, especially with the safeties in Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs, backing up Shaquille Griffin, Quentin Dunbar, or Trey Flowers. So, yeah, that's my stance on it.
In the Super Chat, Riker Rockstar with a Super Chat says, DK Metcalf MVP. I definitely want to get to discussing about our weapons in terms of how we will counter whatever Atlanta throws our way. But let me go to Noah now on your biggest concern about the Atlanta Falcons.
These guys touched on scoring. I agree with that full-heartedly. I think when you're playing a team like Atlanta, they're going to get their yards. So what's important for us to do, and I'm dropping a video about this tomorrow with 3 keys to the game. One of my keys to the game is keep them out of the end zone. While, yes, they were a top 3 passing offense last year in the NFL, they were only a top 13 scoring offense. And in our game against them, they had a turnover within the 5-yard line, which ended up being a 1-score ball game. So that very well might have been the difference. So they have Todd Gurley now. I feel like Todd Gurley is going to have more of an impact early on in the season than later because there isn't a preseason and his knees are horrible. So the less time the more football he plays, the less comfortable he's going to be, the more pain, the more injury stricken he's going to be. So I think early on in the season, for example, week 1 is going to be when his impact is the greatest. So we got to key in. We got to keep them out of the end zone. Stick with 3 rather than 7. Bend but don't break, and we should have a shot.
I'd like to think we have a shot. I think it will be close. Brian, you touched a little bit on the game. Get more specific now. These guys have talked a lot about the offense. I don't know if you want to agree with that, but no one's talking about the defense. Are we overlooking that side of the ball with them and we're just so overshadowed by what they do offensively? Or do we need to be concerned about what our offense is going to face in Atlanta?
Yeah, I think you have to be a little concerned, mainly from the standpoint of the Seahawks offensive line, because, Steezy said earlier, we have some veterans on this team. It's not like it's full of rookies or anything, but where they have problems is certain places they have inexperience. Yeah, they've got veterans, but they've got inexperienced veterans. The offensive line, to me, is probably the biggest concern because of the gelling factor. And I think that those couple games that they would be playing in during the preseason are crucial for some teams. And the Seahawks are one of them when it comes to the offensive line. Now, they've got Mike Iupati, right? Super big-time veteran, been there, done that, mean is all heck. But here's a guy who's been battling injury and, fighting that. So we don't know exactly how he's going to shake out. You've got Damien Lewis, who's going to be an up-and-coming superstar as far as everybody is reporting and everybody who's a scout says, but still a rookie. Don't know how he's going to react in his first game on the road. The cohesiveness on that offensive line, Dwayne Brown, missing a little bit of practice. I don't think I'm too concerned about that. I think that's just precautionary for an older vet. Give him some rest before they get to game time. But again, he is an older vet. So as I mentioned before, these guys are going to be flying out. You know what flying out does to your muscles and joints is it makes them swell. That's what happens. That's why certain injuries are injuries that you don't want to fly with. So anybody on the team that's suffering from any kind of joint problems or anything, when they land in Atlanta, they're going to have to get that taken care of right away. They're going to have their mind on certain things, getting their body right, and not on necessarily the game. Small distraction, maybe, distraction nonetheless. It's those little things that I think will add up to make it a very tough fought, close game between the Hawks and the Falcons. But I think the offensive line right now, for me, is the number one concern.
Let's do a little kind of section by section sort of head-to-head matchup breakdown here. I'm just going to kind of say a certain area of the team, and let's just see who you feel has the better group between the Falcons and the Seahawks. You already mentioned offensive line. Let's talk about the offensive line. Seattle's offensive line versus Atlanta. Calvin, who's got the better one?
I gotta say Atlanta, but just by hair. What I was gonna say in response to what Brian said about the offensive line, I do share some of those concerns, but I think that looking at Atlanta's defensive line, they don't really have anybody that I'm scared of. They were also amongst one of the worst teams when it came to pressuring the quarterback last year. I think they only finished with 29 sacks, so we were right next to them in the sack department. I understand they added Dante Fowler Jr., and he had a career-high 11.5 sacks, but I don't think that he's able to produce at that rate in Atlanta just because there isn't an Aaron Donald or Clay Matthews or Eric Weddle on the defense. There isn't much help, I think, on defense. They have Grady Jarrett at defensive tackle, but aside from that, I'm not really too concerned about their defensive line. But I am going to give them the edge, though, over our offensive line, but just by a hair.
My friend here, David, Sports Live in the ATL, actually says he gives the Seahawks the offensive line going in, so he actually concedes that Seattle's might have the better offensive line in here. Nick, what do you think? Offensive line, who wins? Who's got the better one?
Yeah, I gotta go agree with Calvin. I think it's just them because they got a couple elite guys. They got Jake Matthews, Alex Mack. Alex Mack being pretty old, but their offensive line, I feel they played together more. They kind of know, because a lot of offensive line is like scheme and can guys play together well. Ours is like Micah Iupati and Dwayne Brown, who, have played together, but Ethan Posick getting thrown in there, a rookie Damien Lewis, a brand new guy, Brandon Shell. So I'm just barely going to give them the edge for offensive line.
Okay, well argued. Noah, how about you?
I think Nick LaBow actually said it perfectly. I think continuity is the reason that you give the Falcons the advantage. They have Jake Matthews, Alex Mack, alongside James Carpenter, who we're familiar with. And on the right side, they got a couple guys that have been there. So I give them credit. McGarry's one of them. So I give them credit and Lindstrom, I believe. That's right. So I give them credit because they're one of those teams that they've had some continuity, and heading into this year, I think that's going to benefit them. Whereas Seattle, left side of our offensive line, head and heels over the left side of their offensive line. But the right side, continuity. By the end of the year, I give us the edge. Right now, Atlanta.
And coming from a guy who played on the offensive line, because Noah, you were a center back in the day, right? So you kind of know a little something about being in the trenches. So
wait, Noah, real quick.
Yeah.
I apologize. Were we comparing offensive lines? Because I thought you said offensive line versus their defensive line, or maybe I misheard you.
Oh, I was kind of just doing more like the same department. So who's got the better offensive lines? Who's got the better defensive? Not necessarily the matchup of the two. I was just kind of going more like department by department. You changing your feel on that?
Yeah, I'm going to say Atlanta by a landslide. They have all 5 of their offensive linemen are first rounders. Their entire offense is made up of first rounders. I think that, like you guys mentioned, that continuity. Jake Matthews, he's shown the ability to be one of the better left tackles in football. Mitch McGary, he struggled, I think, last season in his rookie year, but I think going into year 2, he's 6'7", he's massive. I think that although the offseason was cut short, or it was a little different this offseason, I think that his second year going into the system, he's going to be much improved, as well as the rest of the offensive line. And so I think they win that battle by a landslide.
Wow, a landslide.
Yeah.
Brian, do you agree? Is it a landslide, or do you see this differently as far as how our offensive line matches up versus the line, the more experienced and gelled line of the Falcons?
Yeah, no, I agree with Steezy. I think that their line is, at least at the onset of the season, is in much better shape than the Seahawks offensive line is. So now, I think Noah said, as we get to the middle toward the end of the season, he doesn't expect that gap to be as big, or even the Seahawks to be in better position. And I would agree with that as well. I just think right out of the gate, it takes a little bit of time for these guys to gel, and they're not going to be able to really officially start gelling until they get in the game situation. So for them to have the Falcons right out of the gate, they're fortunate on one hand that defensive line for the Falcons isn't anything super special. You know, we're not facing Aaron Donald or anybody like that. So that's the good news for the Hawks. But on the other side, Atlanta, they're not facing any juggernauts as far as names go, right? No big names on the Seahawks defensive line. Now, I think there's some big players, but they might not show up until game 2 or 3 once they start getting into the momentum of things as well.
So let's talk about that. But real quick before I finish on that, there was a comment by Sean M. says, Noah was a center. He has the face of a quarterback. So I'm not sure what that means. Or maybe that's an insult to centers all around the world. Or he just thinks you're really good looking. Either way, he's got a man crush on you. So Noah M. or Sean M. likes what he sees in Noah there. So plus, Noah, you were a much bigger boy back then, were you not?
So when I started playing center, I was a lot bigger. But by my senior year, I was actually only like 5 more pounds than I am now, and I wasn't this strong. So I was just there based on work ethic. But when I started playing center, like sophomore year, and then back in 8th grade in middle school, I was a lot bigger.
Yeah, in case you don't, I don't know if you knew this, Brian, but Noah, at one point, he was 345 pounds.
What?
He was
no way. Seriously?
Gigantic.
Dude.
And now this dude, after a lot of hard work and training and all that stuff, you're down to what, 215? You and I are the same weight right now. And at one point, you could have fit 2 of me in you, almost. But that is amazing. I mean, you're a walking, Nutri-Slim, poster child. I mean, it's amazing what you've done. But it's true. I know you're in the gym all the time. So good on you, man, for doing that. Yeah. So
that's
Brian,
that work ethic, man. Nice work. That's very cool.
So for all of you guys out
he's
there,
the hardest worker that I know.
Yeah, I can tell.
Puts in the work.
Very cool.
So anyway, for all you kids out there, just when you think that something's too hard to do, just look at Noah, man. Noah put the work in, and he accomplished his goals. All right, let's switch. Brian, you were just making a transition, talking about our defensive line not having any big names. Never got the Clowney, never got the Griffin, never got the Ngakwe, and really got nothing that we were all thinking our fingers were going to get. And when they did get somebody in the draft, he can't even play yet because he's still hurt right now. So where does the defensive line, how do our defensive lines match up against Atlanta's, and how much of a problem do you think it is? Let's go to Calvin, to you. Let's compare our defensive lines. Who's got the edge?
This one's tough. I think that we have the advantage in terms of depth, but I think that in terms of star power, they have the edge. I don't know. I feel it's kind of even. I think that you look at the weight that we carry in terms of the depth that we have, or the advantage in depth compared to their depth. I don't think they have a lot of depth, but they have star power. I think it's pretty even on the scale. As I mentioned, they have Grady Jarrett and Dante Fowler, who I think is going to have a down season, but he's still a name nevertheless. But on the other side of things, we have Jarran Reed, who's hopefully poised for a bounce back year. We don't know what to expect out of Collier, but hopefully, being that he has first round pedigree, hopefully he can show us a little something. Obviously, we brought back Bruce Irvin and Benson Mayowa. Actually, I got to take Seattle by just a hair. I think that on the season, we're going to pile up more sacks and then more pressures. And so I'm going to say Seattle.
All right. Nick, let's go to you. Which defensive line, if you had to pick one, if you could say you could have the Seahawks D-line or you could have the Atlanta Falcons D-line, which one are you going with?
Well, if we're looking at depth, I'd probably say Seattle, but as of right now, I gotta go Atlanta. They got Tack McKinley, Dante Fowler, who they brought in. Those are two pretty solid edge rushers. Grady Jarrett, who I believe 2 years ago was like a top 3 center in the NFL, defensive tackle in the NFL. Tyler Davidson, he seems pretty. I haven't seen much of him, but from what I have seen, he's pretty okay, solid. So I just got to give it to the Falcons, just kind of barely. But again, if we're looking at depth, I'd probably give Seattle the win.
Okay, all right. So, Brian, got to throw the same question to you. If you had to choose one, Seattle or Atlanta, which D-line do you like the most?
Yeah, there's some other factors to consider that maybe we haven't brought into play yet, which is coaching. And I will take a Dan Quinn coach defensive line over what Seattle has. As far as talent goes, I think Atlanta might have the edge. I agree that Seattle might have the depth, but I think that Seattle has the up-and-comers, that there's question marks sitting right out in front of us. And those question marks are going to be erased, and we're going to see some semblance of stars. And I think L.J. Collier has a lot to prove. I think he's super motivated. He definitely has the athletic ability. He showed flashes in his brief time playing last year. So we're going to see what he can do. Bruce Irvin comes in, little chip on his shoulder, happy to be returning home after a stint with a couple other teams, the Raiders, and coming off a season with 8 sacks. I think he's ready to go, and I agree that Jarran Reed is poised to have a huge season. He blew a super big payday by being suspended for 6 games, came back, wasn't able to get back into the groove of things, and I think you're going to see the Jarran Reed that we saw 2 seasons ago. So all in all, big picture, I'm going to pick the Seahawks over the Falcons by an eyelash.
Eyelash, I like that. Okay, so Noah, let's go to you then. Same question. Which D-line do you choose that you think is better?
Yeah, I think the Falcons D-line is more talented. I agree with Brian that Dan Quinn coaching the D-line makes their D-line better, but I still think Seattle has the more productive D-line. The reason being, we have the better supporting cast throughout the rest of our defense. We're just comparing defensive lines, but I do have to say throughout the entire year and even in this game, I think our defensive line is victorious. I think they are more influential on the ball game than Atlanta's, also because we have a mobile quarterback. They have Matt Ryan. So in terms of impact, I think Seattle wins that battle. But if we were saying all else is equal, just putting these names and on paper, I would say Atlanta has the more talented defensive line.
Wait, real quick, Norb, can I say something?
Yep.
So I do want to respond to what Brian said about Dan Quinn having the advantage in terms of coaching. But when you look back to last season, Dan Quinn was actually the one calling plays for the Falcons, and at least on the defensive side of the ball, and the team went 1-7. After they went 1-7, they ended up going 6-2 the rest of the way. But he handed over the job to, I think it was the linebackers coach or one of the other coordinators on defense. And so I think that while he does have the edge and experience in terms of coaching on that side of the ball, I think the fact that he had to hand down the duties kind of speaks or kind of contrasts your point.
Coaching and play calling are 2 different things. So whether he wasn't able to handle the head coaching job and call plays, that could be one thing, but I know when he's in practice, the coaching, the one-on-one, the group coaching, the way he coaches his coaches has a huge impact on that team. So while I agree with you that maybe he wasn't in the best position to call plays, I know that his coaching is as highly regarded in the NFL as any defensive coach there is.
Well, let's. I wanted to talk about that after I got through some other parts, but since you brought it up, let's just do a comparison of who's got the better as coaches preparing their teams. Obviously, especially in this year where it's going to be even more on the coaches to have their teams ready because they don't have the time and the experience to get ready for this first game. Which coach has the edge? You know, I know Noah has been very critical about Pete Carroll, and if you guys had watched our show last week, Noah and Brian went at it a little bit about the Pete Carroll. But let's talk about this game specifically. This coaching group, and obviously Pete Carroll at the top of it. Pete Carroll versus Dan Quinn and all the coaches with him. Who do you think has the net advantage of the coaching staff? And let's go back to you, Noah.
Well, so as you mentioned, I brought up that I think if Pete Carroll, and last week you wanted me to give a record that would put Pete Carroll on the hot seat. Well, in order for Pete Carroll to, by record, be on the hot seat, I would say a measly 5-11. But the point that I've been getting at with Pete Carroll is just that if this is our ceiling, if winning the wild card and then losing on the road divisional and it's competitive, but we keep doing that, eventually at some point we're going to have to move off Pete Carroll. But in this matchup, Pete Carroll could potentially be on the hot seat. Dan Quinn is on the hot seat. Pete Carroll definitely has the advantage here. In my eyes, Dan Quinn was the 2T, is that what you call it? And then Pete Carroll's the tutor because Pete Carroll's the one teaching game. Dan Quinn went to the Super Bowl riding Shanahan's coattails. Whereas Pete Carroll did that for himself. While, yes, I give major credit to Russell Wilson, that was before Russell Wilson was the Russell Wilson that we have today. That was on the defense that Pete Carroll and John Schneider drafted. That's when Pete Carroll was, in my eyes, or I think it's fair to say, in his prime as a coach for the Seahawks, because that's when we had the most talent coming up out of nowhere. And that was right when our team was at its best, obviously, because we won the Super Bowl. So I would say Pete Carroll definitely has the edge here. And it's only if things go really bad this year that Pete Carroll is actually on the hot seat.
All right, so since you guys had the little debate last time, I want to go to Brian to respond to that. Brian, do you have a different take? You agree that Seattle has got the edge?
I'd like to agree. I really think the world of Pete. I think that he has got a tremendous amount of talent and coaching ability and just ingenuity in the way he goes about his approach to being a coach. But here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Dan Quinn, who, anytime that you coach against somebody that you worked with or you played with or that coached you, you want to show up and be your absolute best. You want to impress them. You want to show them that you're the new big dog in town. And Dan Quinn, his players love him. Steezy talked about it. Look what they did in the second half of the season when Quinn's job was on the line, when every single sports radio talk show and television show, when they're talking about the NFL, was talking about Dan Quinn being on the hot seat. His players showed up to play for him. So in this situation, when Dan Quinn pulls them in all together and says, listen, man, we got to have this game. We got to have this game for our fans. We got to have this game for you and your families. We got to have this game for me, because that guy on the other side of the sidelines thinks he's better than us, and he's not. And he's going to get them all motivated. That's what Dan Quinn does. So from that standpoint, I think he's got the edge in this game.
And I agree that, in a lot of ways, it's still pretty amazing that Dan Quinn hasn't lost his job. Because when you think about the aftermath of that 28-3, to spare Sports Live and the ATL, I'd say I would not say any jokes about that Super Bowl. But to lose the Super Bowl like that and to still have his job, even though in a lot of ways, I think he still has not probably achieved what they hoped he would bring by bringing him on. Obviously, they like him over there. The owner likes him. I think you're right. The players do seem to play for him. But will they be prepared enough? Which coach will have prepared their team enough? And obviously, like you said, the traveling team has so much more to have to deal with than the team that's hosting. I guess I have not asked Nick or Calvin this question yet. So, Calvin, you kind of alluded a little bit about that, but you want to add anything to that conversation about the coaching contrast between the two?
Oh, I'm totally against Brian. I'm with No 100%. I think that you look at the two coaches, Dan Quinn's going to want to prove to Pete Carroll that he's going to be the top dog and that he's going to hopefully upset him. But, I mean, Pete Carroll's the OG and Dan Quinn's the protege. And I think that at the end of the day, the OG is going to outlast the protege. He knows Dan Quinn better than Dan Quinn knows himself. And I think that that's going to help Pete Carroll. And I think that being that he's one of the oldest coaches in the NFL, I think only second to Bill Belichick, that hasn't stopped him from being as good of a coach as he has shown us. I understand that he's failed to make adjustments in the last couple of seasons. We all hope that changes this season, but I think that when you compare the two coaches, it's not even close. Pete Carroll, the OG, he has so much more on his resume. He's accomplished a lot more, and there's a reason why Dan Quinn's as good as he is. It's because of Pete Carroll, and so Pete Carroll in the landslide, without a doubt.
All right, a little contrasting view there. Let's go to Nick. Get your take on this.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Noah and Calvin. I think Pete Carroll, he's the Yoda. Dan Quinn, he's just that young Padawan. And again, the Yoda is gonna crush the Padawan. I see Pete Carroll having the edge.
Okay, all right. I like the Star Wars references, although I don't think I don't think that he's quite. Dan Quinn's not exactly a young Padawan, but I guess compared to Pete Carroll, everybody's a young Padawan, right? That guy's been around for a long time.
Listen, I wouldn't disagree with the fact that Pete Carroll's got that experience under his belt. He's been in some high pressure games. He's been a head coach much longer than Dan Quinn. But let's not forget Sean McVay, who's probably would be middle of the pack age on this panel, right? One of the youngest head coaches in the NFL, has absolutely taken Pete Carroll to school on multiple occasions. So it's not necessarily about the age, and sometimes it's not even about the experience. It's about the coaching staff that you surround yourself with, the motivation, and the ability to motivate players. So I hope I'm wrong. Believe me, I love Pete. I love this team. As a homer, as a fan, I want to see the Seahawks go in there and absolutely destroy Atlanta and shake up every sports TV talk show on Monday going, holy crap, we haven't talked about the Seahawks the whole offseason. Why haven't we been talking about the Seahawks? They just destroyed Atlanta. That's what I hope happens. Not what I think's going to happen, but what I'm really hoping for.
Yeah, I think we all are. You brought up Sean McVay out coaching Pete, and and Sean McVay in that Super Bowl when they went against the Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Man, he's the one who got schooled on that day. Yeah, completely shutting down that LA Rams offense and beating them old school way. So
everybody gets schooled by Belichick, though, don't they?
Well, I hope we don't get schooled because we got to play them right after this game. Yeah, Dan Quinn. And I don't know if that's Dan Quinn or is that a Shanahan thing? That could be debated. But all right, so let's go to the in comparing things here. So we talked about offensive line, we talked about defensive line. So I want to talk just generally about the offense. Compare and contrast. We talked quite a bit already about the Atlanta offense, so I don't feel like we need to go into that some more. But what I do want to see is what does Seattle's offense need to do to win this game? And I guess at the same time, by answering that, which offense do you think is better between the two? So let's start with Brian. Let's go to you, man. We all want to see us get and win this game, and we've all talked about what we feel like we want to see. Love to see us not get behind, not be conservative. But you also last week talked a lot about defending the Pete Carroll approach and not feeling like we need to let Russ cook and all that. So do you still stand by that? And what's the key for Seattle's offense to do something here in this game?
Yeah, I still stand by that. I think being able to control the clock, be able to control the football, not turning it over, pounding the rock, and then letting Russ do his thing in the second half is one of the reasons why Russ is so successful. Having Russ throw the ball, 45 or 50 times a game, to me, seems like it's a little excessive. I'd rather see, and I think these guys brought it up last week, when they say let Russ cook, can also mean just give him the control to make better decisions. A little bit more RPO, a little bit more creativity involved in some of the plays that they give Russ. And I would agree with that. And I don't know that necessarily means slinging the ball down the field 30, 40 yards more than he already has. Russ won't necessarily come out and say it, because he does want to play at a high level all 4 quarters, but he knows, and we all know, he is at his absolute best when the pressure is on the line. He is a high pressure player. That's what he loves. He thrives in it. That's one of the reasons the Seahawks have been so successful in the fourth quarter, in those comeback situations. So, I want to see Chris Carson, man. I want to see what Chris Carson can do coming off that injury. That's another question mark we have. How's he going to hold up? How's he going to look? How's he going to feel on that first cut on the turf? It's going to be really interesting.
And, I've been saying along that I really want to see Russ cook and see some changes and being a little more open with the offense. And I do have to agree with you. With such a powerful offense that Atlanta has on the other side of the ball, what you don't want to do is get into a track meet where those guys are just having where Seattle does not convert and Atlanta just gets drive after drive and wears the defense out. And that's a nightmare situation. So I can actually see why the priority of trying to control the ball, slow the game down, because the one way you can stop an offense on the other side of the ball is never let them get the ball. So if you can chew out the clock for like 5 minutes on a drive, well, that's like almost, most of the quarter before the other team even sees it. So
there's nothing that teams that can discourage a team more than watching your defense give up a 15-play, 86-yard drive that chewed up 7 or 8 minutes on the clock. I mean, that is just a beating.
Now, it's great if it ends in points, because I think we're going to have to score points. That's the problem, though, is that you can chew up clock, get to like the 40-yard line, but if it stalls there, you end up having
that's
to punt.
A scoring drive. I should have prefaced that to say, because that's usually what people refer to when they mention that kind of category. So scoring drive, whether it be a field goal or touchdown, I think we all kind of got sick of seeing field goals there for a little bit. So from the standpoint of let Russ cook, I would say, let's let him get the ball in the end zone. Let's take some shots into the end zone from 30, 40 yards out, instead of maybe trying to get closer for a better field goal. I can agree with that.
So that said, if you were to choose between the two offenses, which one would you go with, at least in this game? Which offense do you think's got the upper hand?
Oh, the Seahawks. The Seahawks are going to have one of the most smoking offenses in the NFL, in my opinion. And when I say smoking, I mean that they're just going to be very tough to stop, because they're going to have a million different options that they can do. They can go to 2 or 3 different running backs. They can swing to them out of the backfield. Russ can throw to his tight ends. He's going to have 2 or 3 tight ends in the mix that he can throw to. He's going to have 3 wide receivers, maybe 4, once we get our boy back from suspension. And the Falcons have Julio Jones and a couple of receivers. Their running back,
Calvin Ridley.
But their running back, I'm not really concerned with. Do you think
do you say that because you feel like his best years are behind him, that the knees are not going to hold up, or why do you say that?
Yeah, I absolutely say that, and I also don't think he's got what we used to call in the 80s the eye of the tiger, based on the Rocky movie, right? I don't think he's hungry like he used to be, and that's just from what I've heard from other people that have had discussions with people that know him. So it's a lot of third-party blah, 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 but it doesn't seem like he's the same player that he was when he first started his career with the Rams.
Oh, that'd be interesting to see, how Todd Gurley's year goes, especially because I have on my fantasy team. So, Calvin, let's go to you now. Let's get your take. Seattle's offense, what's the key? And between the two, who's got the better?
I think that the key is definitely just keep up and score points. As we mentioned, Atlanta's always up there when it comes to scoring points and accumulated yardage. I understand that last season they were only top 13 in terms of actually scoring points, but I think that that's going to be better this season. I'd look for it to be at least top 10, if not inside the top 7. But as far as who has the better offense, I'm going to go with Seattle as well. I understand, we've been hyping up Atlanta's weapons, especially at receiver and Julio and Calvin Ridley. I feel like they're 2 studs at that position, but I exhibit the same concerns that Brian does for Todd Gurley. I understand he's healthy now, but he does have arthritis in his knees, and who knows when that could affect them. Obviously, he's more prone to injury, and he could look more just like the talk early of last year. He still piled up over, I think it was 13, 14 touchdowns, but you look at his yards per carry, his efficiency was horrendous. He only had over 800 yards. He averaged, I think, 3.8 yards a carry, and obviously he's lost a lot of explosiveness in his knees. He just lost a lot of juice. I think that he can still put up numbers, and so don't be worried for your fantasy team. I think that he can still put up numbers. I just think that it's going to be in a very inefficient manner, but due to the fact that he's going to be surrounded by elite receivers and I think a fringe top 10 quarterback, he's going to put up numbers, but they have the advantage in receiving weapons. We have the advantage in terms of running game, but I think that because we also have, a few receivers that can, step it up. Obviously, DK Metcalf, he's poised for a huge year, over 1,100 yards, I predict. I think we all could say. Tyler Lockett, he's a stud. Josh Gordon, hopefully once he comes back, he's going to add a whole lot of receiving prowess. Greg Olsen. We're going to have the best tight end group, hopefully. And so I think that I'd rather have Seattle's offense.
All right. And then we haven't mentioned the quarterback. To me, there's no debate about that. Although
don't even need to, right? This is like a pencil that sucker in every time over just about every other quarterback in the NFL.
Hey, chosen number two by his peers. Kind of hard to argue, and it's the players picking it. But Sports Live and the ATL David will say that he thinks Matt Ryan's better than Russell Wilson. I don't know what he's drinking, but he is a Falcons fan. But but Calvin. Yeah, weapons. We have the weapons. It's like, but then you come down to the scheme, the approach, right? Brian's got an idea. Noah's got an idea. We have the let Russ cook idea. So you've got all these pawns and your rooks and your knights and your bishops. You got the board, but you got to come up with the strategy. Right. Brian's already saying we need to run the ball. We need to give it to Carson. We need to feed it. We need to chew out the clock. But are you saying, Cal, that you would rather have Russ go to, you named all those targets, all those delectable receivers and tight ends to throw to, change the thoughts on the strategy? Do you feel like running the ball aggressively, like Brian's saying, is not the way to go? Do you feel like they should open up and try to score as opposed to chewing up the clock and putting it on the ground? That's a hard one, man. I go back and forth, and I can see the advantages too. But what do you think?
I think it's real tough. I think that we should kind of based it off of matchups. I think that when we go into a game looking at a high offense like Atlanta, then we should kind of try to adapt the game plan to kind of keep up with them and score. But never, I don't think we should ever go away from the running game. That's part of what makes Russell Wilson so successful. And I agree with Brian when he says that. I just think that, like he also mentioned earlier, I think that we need to be more fancy and kind of stop being so vanilla on offense, kind of open it up a little bit, put some RPOs in there, maybe go back to a little bit of read option, just kind of, change up the packages a little bit, give the defense a different look. We can't always have him be Houdini. I mean, I understand he's so good at doing it, but sooner or later he's going to break down if we keep relying on that. And so I think that opening up the playbook a little bit is going to help him out. But overall, to answer your question, I think that it's going to be matchup-based. I think that it should be matchup-based. If we go into a game knowing that this team isn't very high-powered on offense, then we can kind of go back to our strategy of running the football. I'd say I'm cool with 60-40, especially against a team that doesn't score a lot of points. But going into a game like, let's say, against Tampa Bay or New Orleans, I think that we should look to kind of establish the run a little bit, but I think they go away from that as soon as we start to get into a shootout with some of these higher-powered offenses.
All right, Nick, I'm going to go to you now to answer that same question, but I want to start off by saying you're the offensive coordinator, all right? And back when Mike Holmgren was the coach, he called the plays as well. He would script out like the first 15 plays. Am I right, Brian? He scripted out, I believe, the first 15. Yeah. Like he didn't care about the flow of the game. He planned the first 15 plays, and then he went with the flow. So you're the offensive coordinator. What are your first 3 plays to ensure that you don't go 3 and out? Now you don't have to go detailed. I'm asking Nick now, but you can answer if you want to. But I'm going to Nick because I want to get Nick to get me a little time in here. You don't have to say break it down and actually spell it out, but just tell me: is it a run? Is it a pass? Tell me what you would do if you're the coordinator here.
First down, I'm going to go run. Second down, I'm going to go pass, and then say we're in a third down situation, I'm going to go pass again.
What if it's 3rd and 2?
3rd and 2, then matchup based. If say one of their weak backup corners or whatever is subbed in and is on DK Metcalf, then I think we should throw the ball to DK Metcalf.
Who's your first target? Who's the first receiver to get a catch in 2020? You say you're going to run the ball and then you're going to throw it on second down. Who catches that ball?
Will Disley.
Will Disley, I like that tight end.
Agreed. That's a great call, man.
I like that.
Great call.
I like that too. All right. Give me your little breakdown here. I'm going to assume you're going to pick the Seahawks because this is a Seahawks channel as far as the offense. So with that already be assumed the case, what does Seattle need to do to win this game to not get into a shooting? Well, maybe they need to get into a point shooting match here, but what do we need to do to get enough points to beat these guys offensively?
What I'm saying is I think we need to ease into the game. I kind of like in the first quarter running it a bit more. Obviously, if there's a matchup, like I said, the Falcons backup cornerback subbing in to guard Tyler Lockett, then I think we should throw. But think about it. It's week 1. We never really play good week 1. I mean, we beat Cincinnati last year, week 1, by a point, and they got the first overall pick. It's also 10 a.m. East Coast, different time zone. I want us to kind of ease in first quarter. Maybe if we get a couple good matchups, throw the ball. But I really want the second quarter to kind of be, if we're already kind of eased in enough, I want that to be where we really let Russ cook, go all out, get a nice lead, go into halftime, third quarter, maybe say we have a 14-point lead going into half, because that's how good Russ does. In the third quarter or second quarter. I want us in the third quarter to run it a bit more, chew out that clock, control the game with the run, and then say Atlanta comes back. Third quarter, fourth quarter, shootout, and get that win.
Interesting. I got to mention again this stat that is just still mind-blowing to me, that when the Seattle Seahawks have a 10-point or higher lead at the half, we are undefeated in the past 7 or 8 seasons. Isn't it something like that, guys? It's like 60-something and 0 when Seattle has a 10-point lead. So hard not to try to work that fact into your game plan, knowing that if we can get that lead, it's almost an automatic. Okay, Noah, I think you're the last one to answer this offensive question. And, again, you tell me, what's your first 3 plays of the Seattle offense, and then give me the overall game breakdown.
Was a former football player, especially as a lineman, I'll tell you that especially without a preseason too, that's a very important thing here. When you first start playing a football team, sometimes, and Nick, just plug your ears real quick, you get tight cheeks, if you will, and you get uncomfortable. You have to, and the way to shake that off, everyone always tells you. You talk to football players, you talk to people that are in the locker room, they'll tell you as soon as you get that first hit, you're ready to go. So play 1, I'm lining up something 13 personnel. I want 3 tight ends out there. I want Disley, I want Hollister, I want Olsen pounded down their throat. Get about 6 yards, right? That's when I start to, gauge the defense a little bit. Are they changing their personnel? After that, I am flexible. That's the first play. I'm setting the tone. I'm hitting somebody. After that, I want to run the football again. I'm open to passing it if they stack the box. That's the problem that I see with our offense. Norb, you brought up a statistic about when we lead at halftime. Check out this statistic. Since 2017, of all the teams in the NFL, passing attempts in the first quarter, Jacksonville, Miami, I believe they're 31-30 in terms of the most passing attempts, or the fewest passing attempts in the first quarter. Of course, that makes sense. They're trying to protect guys like Blake Bortles and at times Ryan Fitzpatrick and Ryan Tannehill or whoever they had in Miami. The Seahawks are 32. Why are we protecting Russell Wilson in the first quarter of games to that extent? I want to be a two-dimensional offense. That's one-dimensional. The fewest pass attempts in the first quarter in the NFL since 2017. That is one hell of a stat. That tells us how one-dimensional we've been. That is the problem. Heading into this game, I have 2 tips about the offense real quick. One of them, speed it up at times. Last year when we played Atlanta, we had a game, the first touchdown, I believe, of the game was a touchdown to DK Metcalf in a game where he had 2 touchdowns. DK caught the touchdown because we snapped the ball before the defense got set. That's running tempo. That's what I want to see us do at times. I don't necessarily want to see us do it on the first drive. We didn't do it on the first drive in that game. But there are going to be certain snaps when we like the defensive package that a defense, that these got 4-3 defense that they come out in, and we can take advantage of that. How do you do it? Not allow them to make substitutions. Keep them on the field, run a little tempo, no huddle. You don't have to snap it immediately, but don't let them make those substitutions. That's what I think we do against Atlanta. And the other thing, because I agree with the entire panel talking about our offensive line woes, if you will, I say both of our tight ends, we need to run 2 tight ends the majority of the game, especially in the first quarter, and we need to chip them every single play, especially on the right side. I'd be very happy to have them offset to the right, 2 tight ends to the right, none to the left. Dwayne Brown's fine over there, but our right tackle, Brandon Show, is going to need some help. So 2 tight ends, chip them all the time, and run tempo when it's appropriate.
I like that. I love that stat. Is amazing, though. 32, worst or lowest in the league in terms of pass attempts in the first quarter since 2017. Is that what you said?
Yep.
That is amazing. For the guy who is the number 2 rated player in all of the NFL by his peers, that's not cooking in the first quarter. I think that's one of those things, too, that when we often don't really see in the statistical breakdowns, because you look at a total of a season or total of a game and you see the number of passes attempted and things like that. There's a thing about when it happens, too, right? Because maybe they're all at the end of the game when you have to play catch-up or end of the first half. But what about that, spreading out a little bit earlier? We'll see if they start doing that. And, again, that's that letting Russ cook kind of thing. Nick, I wanted to ask you something. I was looking around your room while you were talking. And
Me too. Me too.
Is that like a – what is that? That ball in the top shelf, it looks like the shape of a Lombardi, but it's not a Lombardi trophy. But what is that? That silver, it looks like a silver ball. I want to see that thing. What is that thing? Is it a trophy? A souvenir? Let's go see what that's all about. Yeah, show that.
So funny story.
Put up close to the camera so we can get a good look at it.
Like a coin thing.
It's a piggy bank. Wait, hold it up there. I want to see it. I want to see it again. So, is it supposed to be a Lombardi? Is it like a Lombardi thing, or is it just a generic football?
Yeah, it's like designed as a Lombardi trophy.
Hold it up. I want to see it again. I want to get a full screen of that. So it's a Lombardi piggy bank. So you put your little coins in there. That's pretty funny. Okay, was not expecting that, but
nice. How much cash you got in there?
Well,
looks pretty
there's
light.
actually a dollar coin.
Don't answer it, Nick. It's a trap. Don't answer it.
I was going to say, Norb, you got to float this guy some appearance fees so he can put in his piggy bank. That's awesome. That bank's cool.
Start putting it into your retirement early. At your age, if you put in like $50 a month for the rest of your life, you're going to be like a millionaire twice by the time you get to 65. That's true. Okay, I got to go to the super chat. Rai Kim says, "Hello, NorbCam. What do you think about the Seahawks this season? You think Seahawks have a chance to win the NFC Championship in 2020? I have my prediction video, which I'm going to drop on Friday, so I will kind of answer that question a little bit. But before we could answer that, we kind of need to talk about this game 1. It's 1 of 16, and I think we're at that point now where we got to talk about, well, I was going to ask the score thing, but we didn't really talk about our defense that much. I would like to get a quick take on the defense before we get to the game prediction. Let's make a quick one, guys. Let's go around the horn and just tell me which of the 2 teams out there, which has got the better defense, and what do we have to do to get the win on the defensive side of the ball. Let's go with Brian. Oh, Brian frozen? Looks like Brian's frozen. That or else he's doing a mannequin challenge. Let's go to Calvin then. Calvin, why don't you take this one?
He's in deep thought.
I think that get after quarterback. I know that Atlanta has a very established offensive line, but I think that if we can show signs of getting after the quarterback, getting after Matt Ryan, making it uncomfortable for him, I think that'll set the tone for the rest of the season as to the outlook of our pass rush. And I think that it'll the overall team chemistry, the morale is going to go up. Guys are going to know that, okay, our pass rush is different. Last season was different. We're a different team. I think that because we have a huge advantage in the secondary, I don't trust Atlanta's secondary at all. I think that they reached on first-round cornerback A.J. Terrell. They still have a whole lot of question marks in their defense. What I meant to say, their secondary, they have Isaiah Oliver, they have Keanu Neal and Deion Jones at linebacker and safety. Obviously, they have a few pieces on the defensive line as well. But I think that when you go back to us, I think that we're going to have the best secondary in football by the end of the season. Hopefully, if Quentin Dunbar plays a majority of the season, I still think that we have one of the best linebacking cores in football. And I think that our pass rush is going to be much improved. And so I think that we have the upper hand on defense, or when you're comparing the two defenses, Seattle definitely has the edge. And I think that one of the keys is that hopefully we can establish some pass rushing early on in the game and kind of show them that we're not the pushovers that we were last season.
Where's the Jamal Adams factor in all this? I was waiting for the Jamal Adams who's going to take over this game here. I'm so excited about this guy, man. You know, I love Cam Chancellor, and I feel like we haven't seen a safety like this, that kind of guy till now. I'm so excited to see what he can do on this defense and see what difference he's going to make. But I feel like he's going to make a huge difference. I think it changes the defense entirely of what we saw so much of last year. But yeah, you did say the best secondary in football. So I take that means you're taking the Seattle defense over Atlanta.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
All right. Let's go to Brian. Since you're back, you got out of your frozen deep state of thought. You're back with us with the living. Your take on this defense.
The network. So what was the question? I didn't even hear it.
So we're just, before we get our score predictions, I would just do a quick thing on the Seattle defense. Who's got the defensive edge, and what's the key to Seattle's getting a win with the defense this Sunday?
Yeah, I think the Seahawks have the defensive edge. I think that linebacking core with Wagner and KJ, little rookie coming in. I think the best defensive backfield in the NFL could potentially be right here in Seattle. And I think we all talked about the questions on the defensive line, but we all believe that there is some hidden talent in there. We're just waiting to see, does that in fact come to fruition? So from the linebacking core on back, it's going to be one of the best in the NFL. The question mark up front will be answered, but I think this defense is going to be far better than you'll see them ranked in your fantasy league draft choice options, or you're going to hear guys on the NFL Network on Good Morning Football talking about this defense. But guess what? In a few weeks from now, people are going to be hyped on this D.
I hope so. I'm already hyped on this D, and I haven't even seen it play yet. But
I know. That's the thing. Everybody's at this massive disadvantage because at least we can pretend to be scouts during the preseason, right? We can sit down and we can watch the Seahawks games. We can watch all the other games on the NFL Network and, think that we know what we're seeing, what we're talking about. And sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But at least we have a little bit of an idea in our mind of what the other teams look like and what our team looks like. We don't this year, so it's going to be really, really interesting.
The one good thing about no preseason, when there isn't really a lot to not like about it, unless you just don't want to watch those games, is we don't have to worry about the injuries from preseason. That for me, I went through so many times the preseason when you knew who the starters were and there wasn't a lot of competition. The whole time I'm just praying, please don't get hurt, nobody get hurt. I don't care what you do, just don't get hurt, don't get hurt. That was I went for my whole month. George Fant. I mean, that was like, oh my God, for a meaningless game, he's out of the season. So that's one of the few positives about not having a preseason. So we know who we got. We do have a couple of things like Philip Dorsett with his nagging foot injury. But on the defensive side, other than the guys we already knew weren't going to be playing, we have a pretty good idea who it's going to be. And now we get to finally just see what it is. So let's see. I went to Brian.
Can I pop in really quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
With George Fant's injury, I almost take that as a blessing in disguise because that led up to us getting Dwayne Brown. So...
That is true. That's a good point. Indirectly, and Fant actually got paid pretty good from the Jets for a guy who really wasn't even a regular lineman. He was just that swing guy. Kind of went in to help chip on blocks. He got a nice little deal there. Elaine McCollum added Irvin and Mayoa had 8 and 10 sacks last year. Just a little thing, because I don't think people are really talking about them. Nobody did cartwheels and backflips when they heard Irvin and Mayo were coming back. But those guys quietly had pretty good seasons last year. Just more reasons to get excited about the potential pass rush without signing a big name that everybody was hoping we would. Let's see. So I went to Brian. Nick, why don't you continue with the defensive discussion?
So with the
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So with the defense, I think we got it pretty much. We have the better secondary. We got the better linebacker core. The only thing I'm really looking at is the pass rush. I think the pass rush is going to be really important. If we can obviously pressure Matt Ryan, then he's going to have less time to throw to Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. But if Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones are watching this, I'm going to warn you when you're running crossing routes about Jamal Adams, because he will pick you off. He will hammer you down, and he will be the enforcer 3.0 in Seattle. But yeah, I think that's it. Falcons have their cornerbacks are weak. I'm just to say the least. I mean, they got AJ Terrell, who, like Calvin said, they totally reached on him. Isaiah Oliver, a second-year guy who they brought in DeQuiz Denard from the Bengals, but he's not going to do anything special. I think this is going to be a wide-open opportunity for our wide receivers. They do have good receivers in Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. And like I said before, I think it's going to be Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams really having to back up the secondary in Shaquille Griffin, Trey Flowers, Quentin Dunbar when handling them. But yeah,
we have Jamal Adams. I keep talking about Jamal Adams. I'm so excited about that, man. I am going to be curious to see how Ken Norton decides to use him, because Seattle doesn't typically blitz their safeties. They don't do a lot of blitzing anyway, but he's really good at getting after the quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see if they use him in that manner or they use him in more of a conventional sort of Cam Chancellor type of alignment. Either way, this guy will be fun to watch. So I hope he brings the thunder, like you said, I like that Enforcer 3.0. Noah, let's go to you. The defensive discussion here. What's the key?
For like the 20th time today, I find myself like agreeing with pretty much everything Nick said. I think the secondary is phenomenal. I think the linebacker core is phenomenal. And the rest of the guys said it too, pretty much. So credit where it's due. But the defensive line is where the real question marks are. I think a surprise performer in this game that not a lot of people are talking about. But when watching the highlights from last year, I was reminded that Michael Kendricks had a pick last year in this game. And it was quintessential. It was a big pick. And when it happened, it was because of something that I've schemed whenever. I remember a while back, I was going to play Madden, right? And I was with my buddy, and we were playing against the Falcons, and I was like, look, this is how we're going to do it. And I started drawing it up on the board. And I said, they got Julio out there, and they got Calvin Ridley. They like to run a lot of deep post routes. I actually run Atlanta's offense right now in 2021 Madden. The way to beat that, especially with how Seattle plays our defense, we like to not press our corner. We like to just be back there, floppy-doppy, let all that stuff happen underneath us, and it's wide open to the quarterback. Unless those linebackers underneath have the instincts to drop back and to go get it. Remember Michael Kendrick's interception last year? It was a great one,
diving for it. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Underneath Julio, instinct play, phenomenal read, read the quarterback's eyes. I look for Jordan Brooks in this game, most likely to get an interception in a similar fashion. I believe he gets at least one turnover. It might be a fumble. He might get both. But I think it'll be an interception, and I think his impact will be felt immediately because of it. He has phenomenal instincts coming out of Texas Tech. I look for him to make a similar type play to Michael Kendricks did last year, where he undercuts an inner breaking route. I think Jordan Brooks is going to be a key. The biggest key for our defense, like I said earlier, bend, don't break. This offense is phenomenal. They're going to get their yards. Keep them out of the end zone. That's the goal.
And we've lived off of bend but don't break for a long time. Even when we had the Legion of Boom days, sometimes they would get over those yards, just keep them out of the end zone. So the scoring was always kept low, and that's how they became the number one scoring defense for such a long time. Not so much the case this past couple of years. You mentioned Madden 21. I have it right here, and as you can tell, I still haven't opened it. That's how lame I am. I need to do it because apparently you're learning strategies that you can actually apply to the real world using this lovely game here, which I have yet to open. I'm going to have to do this one of these times. Okay, so last but not least, Brian, I don't think I asked you this question yet, did I? About the defense.
Yeah, you did. I covered it. Thanks for listening, Norb. Appreciate it.
Oh, that's right, because you're frozen. You're frozen. Okay, so we did. All right, well, let's do this. Because I know people want to know we're doing trivia. Yes, we are doing trivia tonight. So let's get to the final thing. I want to hear everybody's score predictions for this game. But first, Duran Everest in the Super Chat says, who do you think has a greater impact, Dissly or Olsen? Around the horn, just quick answer. Between the two. It doesn't have to be elaboration. Just tell me which one. Brian. Dissly or Olsen?
This game, Dissly.
Calvin.
Disley.
Nick.
Disley.
Noah.
Disley.
Yeah, I got to go Disley. And watch Greg Olsen go big for like 100 yards.
Great. Good.
That'd be great.
Let's do it.
Yeah, right.
Win-win situation. All right, let's get to the predictions so we can do this trivia before it gets too late around the world. So let's just go around the horn. I'll start with Brian. Give me a final score of this game, Seahawks-Falcons. Brian, go.
Yep, and you remember I told you at the beginning of this whole thing today that it wouldn't surprise me to see the Seahawks lose. It wouldn't upset me. It wouldn't put me in a bad mood, and I wouldn't think that we would see that type of performance at any other point in time during the season. That being said, I think the Seahawks are going to win this 34-33. Russ drives down late in the fourth quarter and wins it for us again, and everybody's going to be going, I don't care if Russ cooks or not. He can win it in the fourth quarter.
34-33 by one. Okay, we're going to... Well, we have it recorded, so we're going to have to go back. And so on our next one, we're going to have to go break this down and see what our scores actually came out to be. So who was the closest on this prediction? Let's go to Calvin.
Man, that's crazy. Actually, I had 34-33 in mind, but I'm going to change it up a little bit just so, it is on the record. So I do want to have something a little different. I'm going to go 31-30.
31-30. Man, you guys have it really close. Nick LaBow, your prediction.
I have it 2023.
And who's the winner?
Oh, Seattle.
Okay, let's make it sure. Usually you put the bigger number first. Threw me off with the lower number thing. I was like, wait a minute, how does that work? Okay, 23-20 Seattle. Okay. Noah, and finally you.
I think it's ugly. I think it's defensive. I think there's turnovers. It's a little bit sloppy. I think it's bend but don't break. And I think Seattle wins 23-17.
Low scoring. Since I have my prediction video, I'm not going to say the entire prediction, but I will say that I think the score will be 30-27. You'll have to watch my video on Friday to see which team I pick. All right, so that is it. So we'll go back and check this out on Wednesday when we do the roundtable evaluation of this game and looking ahead to the next game. This is what's going to be fun about this. Now that we're in the season, it's like you don't have enough time. You have so many things to talk about. You got to talk about what had just happened, and then you get to talk about what's coming up and what's happening in between. It's crazy. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, it's going to be great. So. All right, so we got our predictions in the books. So let's go to trivia. I whipped this thing up. I can't guarantee its accuracy because I was really whipping it up at the very end. But let's do this thing. All right. So if you guys want to play along, we are going to have the panel here competing, but they're just their scores will be shown here amongst ourselves. But if you guys want to play, it is with the Kahoot app. Or Kahoot.com. So go there with your devices right now, and we're going to get this game rolling. So here we go. Here's the game, and I'll give you the PIN number right now. The number is 40082. 40082. Come join the fun. There's been a lot of people on this stream. I'm surprised, actually. 226 people were jumping in on the game, on this viewing. So there might be a lot of people jumping in here. NorbCam Nation, Let Russ Cook, Trevor, I'm Not Martin, Tylee, RJ Sales, Imagine Losing. There's some good names in here. Cameron Hughes, Fortnite, Hanson. Remember that band, a boy band named Hanson?
Yeah,
not that I listen to them. Yeah, the twin. I don't know what they're doing these days. In Russ, we trust 3. I hope I win. We got this 12. Prodigy, Chicken. We got 25 players in here. I think aim it for 50. We'll see how many more we can get in the next 30 seconds. 29 of you now. Kansas, Icarus, Rustic, Pixon, Chicken, Dear Theodosia, Prodigy, Rampant Sea. Okay, Dallas fan, Hawks fan 2008, Andrew Sun. 20 seconds, 33 people in the game. Again, the number if you want to play the game is 40082. 40082 is the number. 40082. $38 players in the house. Russ for MVP, Nick Kerr. All right, might lose you for just a second. I got to do something here with my video. Hopefully not for long. All right, there we go. Still good. 40082. 10 seconds. 44 players. We're almost to that 50. 45 players now. Let Russ Cook. Melanie. Melodic Swan 27. Case the Great. DK Lockett. Nice name, DK Lockett. Fred Warner. Sam Y. Lil Quandre Diggs. Luke. Nick Kerr. All right. 10 seconds. 9, 8. John Rousseau is playing. Well, I guess now that he's been demoted to the practice squad, he's got a little bit more time here. Not making the trip. Yeah, the practice guys don't get to go to the trip. That's the unfortunate thing with John Rousseau going to the practice squad. We'll never know why. We'll see if he ever gets to play in the game.
Just to touch on that real quick, I had gotten some texts earlier, and there's a thinking that there was maybe some issues with his hamstrings.
Well, he did have an injury earlier, true, yeah.
But they didn't think that it was likely that he would be picked up off the practice squad. When we get number 10 back on the roster off of suspension, then Penny Hart will probably go back on the practice squad and Ursua comes back to the roster. That's what I'm hearing. There's no fact base or anybody of substantial prominence telling me that, but I've gotten some text on that.
Okay, all right. Well, that whole Josh Gordon thing is just such a weird wild card. When's he coming to the team?
Why has he not been
I thought he already
yet?
was, and then they said, no, he's not been released, so he's still in that limbo, but he's gotten signed, so we'll see what happens. All right, we got 50 players. Let's play this game. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this thing. Here we go. NorbCam Kahoot, let's start it. Whew. Starting now. Get ready. Question number 1. I hope I didn't mess this up. What is the Seahawks' all-time record versus the Falcons? Are we 10-9, 9-10, 13-6, or 11-8? Seahawks' all-time record against the Falcons. 10-9, 9-10, 13-6, or 11-8. You have 3 seconds. 10-9, 9-10, 13-6, or 11-8. Time is up. Oh. Fooled a few people on this one. 11 of you got this correct. 11-8 is the correct record so far. Seattle with this slight advantage. Let's go to the scoreboard here with the panel, starting with you, Nick. You got this?
I got this right. I actually looked it up right before I came on the show.
Oh, so, yeah. Look at you. All right. Lucky look up for you. Nick on the board with 1 point. Calvin.
Yes, sir. Make that number 2. I was doing some research before the show, and I came across the same statistic.
Okay. Noah.
I didn't look it up, but Salita brought it up in our collab an hour ago. So,
all right. Got the Dirty Birds on the brain, and the numbers are hot. That brings Brian. Brian, old school guy. You've been around for a while. Did you know this?
But that didn't help me here. But yeah, I got it right because I was reading through some Seahawks notes, and they always put what the record is between the two teams.
Well, look at that, 4 for 4. Everybody on the board. Let's see how the YouTube scoreboard shakes out after this first question. Seahawks 51 in first place. Russell in second. Russell Wilson's in third place. In Russ We Trust in fourth place. And Kansas Icarus in fifth. Next question. Question number 2. Who was the kicker in the 2012 divisional game versus the Falcons? Seahawks kicker. Was it Ryan Longwell, Josh Brown, Blair Walsh, or Steven Hauschka? Who was the kicker for the Seahawks in that 2012 divisional game against the Falcons? Ryan Longwell, Josh Brown, Blair Walsh, Steven Hauschka. Time is up. Wow. Most of you didn't get this right. A lot of you thought it was Hauschka. The correct answer was Ryan Longwell. If you don't remember, this was a big factor in that game. I don't know if you guys remember, but Hauschka hurt his foot kicking on that crappy field in Washington when we beat the Redskins, the former Redskins. Do you guys remember that when RG3 blew out his knee in that ugly game? But on that field, Hauschka hurt. I can't remember if it was a hamstring or something. He couldn't play. He couldn't kick in that game. So they brought Ryan Longwell in to kick the ball. And I argue that Seattle could have won that game if Hauschka was healthy, because they had the ball at like the 47-yard line. It would have been a 63-yard attempt for a win. But we couldn't do it because Ryan Longwell didn't have it in him. Right? Steven Hauschka, I think, could have made that kick, and it was inside a dome. No weather factor. We'll never know because it didn't happen. Had a Hail Mary, didn't work out, and we lost that game. But we won the Super Bowl next year, so it all worked out good. Okay, so a lot of people missed that one. Let's go to the panel, starting with you, Nick.
So I knew Hauschka wasn't in the game, and I obviously knew it wasn't Josh Brown or Blair Walsh, so I went with Longwell and got it right.
Process of elimination. He picks Longwell, gets it right. 2 for 2. Calvin.
Yeah, I said Hauschka and got it wrong. I fell for the trap. I totally forgot about that, but now that you guys bring it up.
It was a big deal, man. It was a big deal. Noah.
No, I remembered Hauschka wasn't, like, I was going to go Hauschka, but then I was like, wait, he did get hurt in that game. And I was thinking John Ryan. Didn't he step in and, like, kick, like, a PAT or two? But of the names on the board, I was like, well, John Ryan's not there. So, and I knew, like Nick, it wasn't Brown or Walsh, so I said Longwell.
All right, process of elimination. So that's 2 points for you. Brian.
Well, at first I thought, did he mean Ryan Lindell? And then I remembered that I covered the Seahawks in 2012, and Longwell came over from Minnesota, so I eventually got there. But I was about ready to say, wait a minute, does he mean Ryan Lindell? No, that wasn't the right time. So
way back
I got
in
it.
There. All right, so pretty close. 2 points apiece, tied for three-way tie at first. Nick, Noah, and Brian with Calvin just 1 point behind. Let's go to the scoreboard, YouTube. Oh, Seahawks 51 staying on top with 1790. Cameron Hughes, welcome from their face into the second spot. I'm Not Martin at third. Russell in fourth. And Russell Wilson's in fifth. Next question. Number 3. What was the score of that 2012 Hawks-Falcons divisional game at halftime? Was it 20-0, 17-0, 20-3, or 21-3? What was the score at halftime of that divisional game? 20-0, 17-0, 20-3, or 21-3? I remember this like it was yesterday. Time is up. Oh, YouTube, by the hair of their chinny chin chin, got this correct. It was 20-0. Shutout at the end of the half, 20-0. We almost won that game. Would have been one of the greatest comebacks in playoff history. Didn't happen, though. Let's go to Nick.
So yeah, when I was researching the record all time, the game popped up. I had kind of trouble remembering if it was 20 or 21, but I went with 20 and got it right. 3
points, man. 3 for 3. Calvin.
I'm 1 for 3 now. I said 21-3.
Close, but not quite. Noah.
See, I remember how pivotal it was for us to score in the first half, and we had a chance, and then we take a sack, and then we couldn't get the snap off, and then it's 20-0. And had we scored, that probably would have been the difference in the game. So, unfortunately, I did remember that it was 20-0.
Yep. It reminded me a lot of that game, the divisional game against the Carolina Panthers. Remember that one in 2015?
Yeah.
We were down 31-0.
Scored.
And we almost pulled that sucker out. And
you mean the one where Greg Olsen took us to the rack on that touchdown?
Diving in the left side end zone. I was at that game. I had some very friendly Panther fans. Actually, very, very friendly folks. But they got a little nervous at the end. But that would have been even the greatest comeback. Greater than the Atlanta would have been. But we're to Brian. Did you know this one, Brian?
Yep, I did. That's the game that gave me my propensity to fall in love with the great comeback and the great tight game down the stretch in the fourth quarter. And even though it didn't fall the Seahawks' way, and quite frankly, one of the great defenses in the league gave up a lot of yards like a hot knife through butter for Atlanta to go ahead and win that game. But that like it was yesterday, like you said earlier. I'll never forget that game.
Man, and if there wasn't a argument of maybe it's a good idea to try to score early and not have to come back and wait, can you win the game in the first quarter, second quarter? Well, it's kind of hard to have to win it all in the fourth quarter. You can help yourself out in the first quarter. Anyway, a little word of offensive wisdom. Let's go to the scoreboard here. See how we're doing in YouTube land. Cameron Hughes on fire at first place now. Seahawks 51 in second. I'm Not Martin in third. Dear Theodosia in fourth. And Kansas Icarus back to fifth place. Next question. Number 4. What station did Brian Abker work for? Was it 1090 The Fan, 950 KJR, 89.9 KGRG, or 710 ESPN? What station did Brian Apker work for? Brian, you might have a hard time with this one. 1090 The Fan, 950 KJR, 89.9 KGRG, or 710 ESPN? Time is up. Actually, I'm surprised some people didn't all know this. Most of you got it right, though. It was 950 KJR, where Brian Apker is where I met you when you were doing the show and you're doing the 12-Man Mania. Those were some good times, man, especially in 2013. Let's go to the panel of scores here. Nick.
Yeah, I got this right, mainly knowing that you asked what station KGRG was like 5 minutes before the show. So yeah.
Yep. I mean, but that didn't necessarily say what the answer was.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that you'd know.
Yeah, Unix format with the super chats. And just tuning in, first Blue Friday coming up. Let's go Hawks, 33-17, Seahawks at Atlanta. Woo! All right, I like that sound, that score. Let's see if it happens. Calvin.
Hold on, what was the question again?
Oh, the question, the question was, what station did Brian Apker work for?
Oh, come on, this one's set in stone. I think there should be a clean sweep. Not 50 KJR.
Yeah. All right, Noah, I'm going to assume this is a go.
I say KGRG.
And Brian, unless you lost all your brain cells, I think you remember where you worked. So that is a point for everybody. So it's so I guess we got a three-way tie: Nick, Noah, and Brian with 4 points. Calvin with 2. Let's go to the YouTube scoreboard. Cameron Hughes holding it up at the first place spot. I'm Not Martin moves to second. Dear Theodosia to third. Kansas Icarus at fourth. And a newcomer, Trevor, onto the top 5 at number 5. Here we go. Next question. What was the score of the Hawks-Falcons game last year? Is it 31-21, 24-17, 27-20, or 30-24? The score of last year's Hawks-Falcons game. 31-21, 24-17, 27-20, or 30-24? Time is up. YouTube on point. 15 of you got this correct. It was indeed 27-20, a game where we were blowing them out in the first half, and then slowly but surely they kept coming back and got a little nervous, got to within a touchdown, but we did end up with the win. Nick.
I got this right. Again, when I was looking up the history, that was the first thing that came up, because obviously it was the recent one. Yeah, we let Matt Schaub almost come back and
yeah, that's right.
Us.
Yep. Because, that's right. Matt Ryan was not playing in that game, was he?
Yeah.
Look at you with all the preparation, separation in the preparation. Nick was doing well. Calvin.
I got this one right. If there's any game that I remember, it was this one, just because heading into the game, I thought we were going to blow them out. They had Matt Schaub playing quarterback, and we did, like you said, in the first half. I think it was 20-0, 24-0. And then I just remember we didn't score again until the fourth quarter. And they almost came back on us. Matt Schaub tore up our secondary. I don't know what happened there, but eventually we ended up getting the dub. But I don't think anyone was pleased with the way that we got it.
No. Yeah, hopefully it's not going to be like that. Well, I'll take the win, but hopefully they'll. I like the lead. I like the lead, but yeah. All right, Noah.
I'm satisfied with this win, because how often is it that Matt Schaub throws for 460 yards and still loses? I remember the score because I was watching the highlights in preparation for my video and the show, so I did know this.
All right, Brian.
Only thing I remember about Matt Schaub is he had like this streak of like 5 or 6 straight games where he threw a pick 6, and Richard Sherman had one of them, and that was a couple of years prior to him going to Atlanta. But no, I didn't get this one right, and if you asked the question later on in trivia, I probably still wouldn't get it right.
All right, I admire your honesty. So that puts Nick and Noah at the top with 5 points apiece, Brian with 4, and Calvin with 3. Let's go to the YouTube scoreboard. Oh, I'm Not Martin moves up to first. Dear Theodosia to second. Cameron Hughes drops to third. Kansas Icarus holding steady at 4. And Rustic Pixon moves into the top 5 at number 5. Next question. I made this double points. I'm not sure why. What year did I start making Seahawks prediction music videos? Is this 2014, 2013, 2015, or 2016? What year did I start making Seahawks prediction music videos? 2014, 13, 15, or 16? Time is up. Oh, actually closer than I expected. 2015 is the correct answer. 16 of you in YouTube got this correct. This was supposed to be a later question. I hope I didn't, in my order just got out of whack or something. But, all right, let's see how close you're paying attention to old videos of mine. Nick.
Come on, Norb. I know ya. I've been a fan. Yeah, I got it right.
All right. Yes, 2015, the first time I did this. Calvin.
Come on, Noah. You know I got this right. I mean, so I got it right, but I guessed.
I've stumped you. I've stumped you before on other questions with my videos. So you got so honestly, you were lucky and guessed. All right.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's better to be lucky than good. Noah, do I even have to ask you this one? I got to ask you.
Oh, Norb, don't set the bar, bro. I got this wrong.
Oops. Wait, what? What?
Yeah, no, I got this wrong.
You got it wrong?
2015 was my initial thought. But I was like, would he really wait till after 2 Super Bowl appearances to start with his prediction videos? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just throw him some love. I want to say after 2012 he did. So I said 2013.
Wow. I barely even started doing my YouTube until 2013 , so...
I remember the We Got Your Bell.
Yeah, I did that, but I wasn't doing predictions yet. Oh, man, I'm very disappointed in my apprentice. Okay, so Noah misses that one. So wait, oh yeah, you guys both have one wrong. So you and Nick and Noah are still tied. Brian... This has got to be just a shot in the dark.
I did get it right. I absolutely remember. I remember what you were doing in 2013 that led up to these amazing creative prediction videos 2 years later. So Mark Collins told me it was going to be coming down the pipeline, that you had some big stuff that you were going to be working on. Wow. And you're super talented. So, yeah.
That's awesome. A good sharp memory there, Brian. All right, so that puts the scoreboard here. If my calculations are correct, Nick and Noah, sounds like a TV show. Nick and Noah at night. 6 tied at least at 6. Brian moves to third place with 5, and Calvin right close behind at 4. Let's go to the YouTube scoreboard right here. And a couple of changes at the bottom. And I'm Not Martin still in first. Dear Theodosia at second. Cameron Hughes in third. Russick Pixon moves to fourth. And Stephon Gilmore, where'd he come from? Suddenly bursts into the top 5 at number 5. Next question. This is worth double 2. This is confusing. Which of these players is not on my fantasy team? Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, Younghoe Koo, or Julio Jones? Which one is not on my fantasy team? Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, Younghoe Koo, Julio Jones. Which one is not on my fantasy team? Time is up. Wow, YouTube's paying attention. And I know a couple of the panelists got to know this one because we're in the same fantasy league together. So the correct answer is Julio Jones. I do have 3 of these Atlanta Falcons on my fantasy team. Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, and Younghoe Koo. So let's start with Nick.
Yeah, I knew this.
You did, man.
Are you talking about the Bolt League?
Jeez, well, I didn't even specify which league, and you know the difference.
Because I think in the Bolt League, I have Julio Jones, so.
Okay. Well, I don't have him in either league, but you did get that correct. Galvin?
Oh, come on. It's fantasy. I study who has who. And, I know who you drafted. I know every single player on all your rosters. Julio.
Oh, man. All right. Noah, I don't think I even have to ask. Well, I have to ask because I assumed everything last game. The last question, you messed that up, so I got to ask again. Noah?
Hey, if Pete Carroll asked Roger Goodell what team Bruce Irvin was on, would he know the answer?
That's true. Probably not. I don't know.
No, he would because he'd have committed. Come on.
That's true. I guess he'd have to know. All right. So that puts 7 points for Noah. Brian.
No, I had no idea. I guess Matt Ryan because I figured, why? Why would you have Matt Ryan? So,
well, that's a good question. It's actually a very good question because I never normally would have picked him probably, but it's because in the particular league that we're doing with Noah's Bolt League, it had these carryover players, and he was one of my carryover guys.
Okay.
So otherwise,
right, we'll see. Had I had that little piece of information, I might have been able to switch my pick, but nah.
That would have been a really hard question to ask. Which of these players is not on my fantasy team, given the fact that there's a carryover player in the Bolt League that I might have had on this list that would apply to this? It's kind of hard to ask that question.
Right.
All right. Well, that puts it as Nick and Noah at night, tied at 7, and Calvin and Brian with 5 points apiece. Tight game. Let's see how the YouTube scoreboard shakes out. I'm Not Martin still in first. Dear Theodosian second, right behind him. Stephon Gilmore moves up to third. Andrew Sund out of Dallas moves to fourth, and Kansas Icarus hanging in there in the 5th spot. Next question. How many onside kicks did Falcons kicker Young-Ho Koo have in one game last year? Was it 2, 3, 4, or 1? How many onside kicks did the Falcons kicker Young-Ho Koo have in one game? 2, 3, 4, 1. I'm obviously going for the one they had the most in one game. 2, 3, 4, or 1. Time is up. Wow, YouTube, you guys nailed this one. Yes, he had 3 onside kicks. Just in a time when everyone's talking about, you can't make an onside kick anymore. The rules make it so you just can't have it. He goes and gets 3. It almost comes from behind. I think they were playing the Saints, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were playing the Saints, and they had to come back from way behind, and they got 3 onside kicks, and they almost pulled it off. Not quite, though. All right, let's go to the panel. Nick.
Yeah, I knew that.
Did you actually see that game?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was shocking. My jaw was dropping. Calvin.
Yeah, I was watching the game, and I just after the first half, the game's over, and then fourth quarter, I see a guy named Young-Ho Koo come into the game and just come in with 3 straight onside kicks, and I was like, he's still the reason why. I think that's the reason why he's still on the Falcons, because he had 3 onside kicks. You know,
I don't know if he can kick a field goal, but he can definitely make some onside kicks. A lost art these days. All right.
Also,
yep.
Didn't he at the end have a touchdown? Didn't he kick it and then the guy fumbled it and he just sped down there and scored a touchdown? I knew he did that once, but I'm wondering if it was that game.
I think you're smoked.
I don't remember that.
I'm not sure, but I don't recall.
I don't remember that. Not in that game. I don't think it was in that game.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I know he did it because I saw it. Or it's some weird thing where he scored a touchdown off a kickoff. I don't know.
But I don't think it was in that. It was a Thanksgiving game. It said somebody in a KC Sports Nerd said it was the Thanksgiving game. All right, so I realized I wasn't doing double points, but that's okay. We'll just do normals. Let's see. So Noah, this is my whole thing got all messed up. Who did I just ask? I lost track. Was that Nick? Okay, then Calvin, did you already answer that one yet or not? No, you haven't done it yet.
Did.
Calvin, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Did I give credit for that?
I think you did.
Because you were tied with Brian, right? Now you have 6. Okay, so I think we're at Noah. Noah?
Yeah, no, I got it right. I think they had 7 or 8.
You had 7, so yes, because you guys were tied, so you still remain tied. So Brian.
Yes, I got it right. My buddy, who was a kicker in high school, is in the Boise State Hall of Fame for kicking. I think he's in the Arena League Hall of Fame kicking. He is a spotter for ESPN for football. Worked for Mike Tirico for a long time. Anyway, long story short, too late. He was texting me during that game. He's like, dude, did you see that onside kick? Perfection. Every single time I had to get the text from him on how awesome the kicker was. So, yeah.
Wow. That's
3
pretty
times.
Cool. All right, let's go to the scoreboard. YouTube. I'm Not Martin still in first. Dear Theodosia in second. Andrew Sund moves up to third. Kansas Icarus in fourth. And Stephon Gilmore back into fifth. And up 21 places, Chris Hawks is the highest climber. We seem to have lost. There he is. Hey, he's back. Steve Z.A. Smith is back. All right, let's go to the next question. You guys ready? Calvin, you ready?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, you were chopping up a little bit, but I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. All right, here you go. Next question, everybody. Worth double, apparently. If the Seahawks lose, what will Norb have to give or do for Sleeta? Give him a NorbCam jersey, give him a NorbCam hat, paint his face red and black, or give him a NorbCam football? What do I have to give to Sleeta if I lose, my Hawks lose? A jersey, a hat, paint my face red and black, or a NorbCam football? Time is up. Oh, actually, not as many people knew this as I thought. 10 people got it right. It is a NorbCam football. And I have that football right here, actually. This is it. It's right there. It looks see-through because the chroma key greened it out. But yes, it's an actual NorbCam ball. Ultimate Hawks fan right there. So if I see it by chance the Seahawks lose, I'm going to be sending this to him.
Liked it.
Calvin disappeared. Let's go to Nick.
Yeah, I got it right. I watched you and David's stream together.
Man, have you gotten every question right so far, Nick? Or you missed one?
I don't know how many questions are in. Have we done?
I don't remember. We've done, I don't know, Big 10? I don't know how to tell. I know you're doing really well though. All right, let's go to Calvin. Yeah, were you able to see? I saw you dropped out, Calvin. Were you able to see that one?
Sorry, my phone was dying. Oh no, I got it wrong. I said a jersey.
Oh, okay. All right. So Calvin's phone was dying, and so was his answer percentage. No.
So I actually didn't watch your live stream because I was live streaming at the time.
That's right. That's right. You were.
I was live streaming today with Sleeta, and Sleeta brought up your little wager, and he didn't tell me what you put on the line, but he told me that his Atlanta Falcons football could be yours. I'm like, bro, who bets a football against a jersey? So I said a football.
Okay, all right. And it should be noted that I've never given one of these balls to anybody except
Noah.
Noah has one.
Let's keep it that way. Go hard.
That was because one day when you become like a Ian Rappaport type, and they always show those studio shots with him in his little office, and he's got all the little paraphernalia and stuff back there. I want to see the NorbCam ball on your bookshelf back there. That's the deal we have worked out. All right, Brian, you probably didn't see it, but did you get lucky?
No, I didn't get it. I thought, paint your face black and red. That would be torturous. That's what I would have wanted if I was on the other end. But no, I was at my grown man 9-to-5 job when you were streaming that, so I missed it. My bad.
What do you mean grown man 9-to-5 job?
I know, real job. Real job is something that you don't want to do, but you have to do, right, in life. Right. This is a job, but this is a whole different spectrum here on the job cycle.
I did have to paint my face black and red before when I lost a bet to him, so I have done that already. And so I decided to have fun with it. So I did a Darth Maul from the Phantom Menace. So rather than paint it, I want to do something cool. So I did a whole Darth Maul thing. I made it all fancy. It was pretty cool, actually. All right, let's go to the YouTube scoreboard. We're almost to the end here. I'm Not Martin, just dominating. In first place, Dear Theodosia right in behind in second. Stephon Gilmore in third. Risek Pixon in fourth. And Cameron Hughes back in there at number 5. Next question. This is number 10. Worth double. Which of these music videos was the first one I released? Was it Win It Tonight, Without You, the Beast Mode tribute, We Got Your Back, or The Monster collab with Philadelphia? Which was the first one? Win It Tonight, Without You, the Beast Mode tribute, We Got Your Back, or The Monster collab with Philadelphia? First one I released. Oh yeah, YouTube on it. 17 of you guys got this correct. We Got Your Back. First, one of the first videos I did it before the Super Bowl, actually. Original song, and you can find it on iTunes. So yes, that was the correct answer. Most of the YouTube got it right. Let's go to Nick. Something's gonna tell me
got it right.
It's intact on the win streak here. 10 for Nick.
Were you even born when he did that? Like.
I watched it a lot later than the day that came out.
He's pretty smart, though. He's pretty smart, though. He caught up on a lot of information in a short amount of time. How about you, Calvin?
All right.
I actually got it right. Noah said something earlier about that video.
You did.
And if he hadn't said that, I probably wouldn't have gotten it right. But I appreciate the love, my bud.
Right. Noah, I don't. Don't think I should have to ask, but I have to ask.
Yeah, no, this one I got right. This is probably like, this might have been the first video I ever saw of yours, but this is when I was just like, dude, who is this guy?
Nice. All right, Brian, trying to keep up with the pack.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, The Monster is my favorite of all the ones you've done for numerous reasons. But yeah, I got this one. Even if I'd never seen a video of yours, the "Who's Got My Back" chant for the Seahawks is one of the very first that really came out from the Legion of Boom and that group. So that had to be your first one. So yeah, that's the one I guessed.
All right. So the ratio stays the same. And I haven't been doing the double points thing because my whole double point order was all messed up. But we have, I think, 2 questions left. So I will apply just to make it more interesting because of the fact that right now Nick and Noah are tied at 10 and Calvin and Brian are tied at 7. Technically, if I go double in the next 2 questions, I think you guys in a perfect world could come back and take the lead, much like Seattle could have beaten the divisional Falcons in the divisional round.
Let's go, Easy. Let's take these clowns. Come on, man. Let's go.
So we'll go double on the next 2.
Come on.
All right. So let's go to the YouTube scoreboard. Actually, Duran Everest in the super chat. Shout, let it all out. Shout, let it all out. You guys remember that song? No, you guys are too young for that.
Tears for Fears.
Tears for
Rolling
Fears.
over the ball.
Nick, Noah,
Hey, I know
and
that song. Come on.
Nick.
Turn
And
me up. Turn
do you
me
actually
up.
know that? You actually know that?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, that's
come
well.
on,
You
man,
did
I
work in
got
radio. You did work in radio, but I'm just thinking some of this stuff has got to be like way too old for you guys. All right, let's go to the YouTube scoreboard right here. Almost to the end. Oh, not much change is there. I'm Not Martin, just running away with this thing. Dear Theodosia in 2nd, Stefan Gilmore to 3rd, Real Keanu Chungu in 4th, and Andrew Sund in 5th. Here we go. Down the stretch. Question number 11, worth double for you guys. Wait a minute, multi-select. This is not right. Which of these videos is the most popular one on YouTube? All right, well, you guys have more chances here. 2016 prediction music video, We Got Your Back music video, the 2017 prediction music video, or reacting to the Super Bowl 51 ending. Which is the most popular of these videos? 2016 prediction, We Got Your Back, 2017 prediction video, or reacting to the Super Bowl 51 ending. Okay, the correct answer is We Got Your Back. For some reason it said multi-select, but it was not correct. I must have messed up on that one. But We Got Your Back was number 1, and then second was actually the reaction to the Super Bowl 51 ending, where the Falcons blew a you-know-what lead to lose that game to the Patriots. All right, so let's go to this. Worth double here, folks. So let's start with Nick.
I got it right.
Oh man, it might
Didn't
be
you have
untouchable.
this like couple weeks ago as a question?
I think I did.
Yeah.
You're paying attention. All right.
Yep.
And I should say for this panel, I've had questions that I've repeated before, and that didn't mean that they got the answer right the second time. I forget things I looked up the morning of, so nothing sticks in my brain. Calvin, for 2.
I got it wrong.
Oh, the comeback doesn't happen.
I said the 2016 prediction video.
I think that was actually the least watched of all those videos. They're all up there, but of the group, it was one of the lowest ones on there. Okay, Noah, for a chance to keep up with Nick.
Yeah, almost bit the cheese on this one, man. I was looking at that Super Bowl reaction, and then the only thing that steered me away was that it didn't say 49. It said 51. And so because of that, I was like, oh, wait, no. Let's go to that banger that we were just talking about. And I got it right.
Okay, all right. So, Brian, although I think the comeback's not going to be enough, it's going to be like 2012 and 2015 where it's going to fall just a little bit short, but you can still make it interesting. Brian, did you have a guess at this one?
Yeah, a bad guess. I'm garbage, man. I said the Super Bowl 51 reaction. So yeah, disappointing.
Oh, that's all right. You've played valiantly. So Nick and Noah tied up here. I don't know what to do with a tiebreaker. I'm gonna just have to do rock paper scissors or something. But let's go to the YouTube scoreboard. One more question to go.
1 in 10.
I'm Not Martin. It's still in first. Dear Theodosia in second. Kansas Icarus in third. Stefan Gilmore in fourth. And Real Keanu Chungu in fifth. Last question right here. It is worth double. My first Rivals video focused on which team? The Cardinals, the Broncos, 49ers, or the Packers? The very first one that I released. Which team? Cardinals, Broncos, 49ers, or the Packers? 3 seconds. Time is... Wow, YouTube was like even across the board. Only 7 got this one correct. It was indeed the Green Bay Packers. My first Rivals video. All right. Nick seemed pretty confident from the smile I saw on your face when you saw this question. Tell me, what was your answer?
So at first I was confident, and then I kind of overthinked it, and then I just guessed Packers because I always liked the Packers one. Wasn't it the one with? It was the one you fighting that guy in the bathroom, right?
Yes, that was.
Yep.
Trevor is his name. All right. Well, that puts you in the lead. Noah might have a chance to tie this up. But Calvin, just for the record, what was your guess?
We don't even need to put it down. I said Denver.
Okay. All right. It was in the bathroom. It was, I think that was I can't remember what number that was, but it wasn't the first one.
That was in the bathroom, I think.
I had several in the bathroom, but
the Broncos one was with Mike Lorraine in it, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Yes. He had the laser gun, and he took my flag and all that fun stuff. Yes, that was one of my favorites.
John got hurt.
Okay. So no points for Calvin. Finishes with 7. Noah, for a chance to keep up and tie the game with Nick, what is your answer, sir?
Actually, didn't know this one, and I said Denver.
Oh, no, you didn't know? Oh, no. So that means Nick is going to be the winner of this contest. But I got to get Brian's final guess here. Brian?
No, I think, and I did see that one, the first one, but for some reason, the one that stood out is the Cardinals one. That was kind of Matrix-esque.
Yes, we had the food fight in the front of the car.
Loved it. So that's what I went with.
All right. Well, just for some trivia information, we didn't shoot them in order. We released it in that order because the Packers, if you recall, after Super Bowl 48, was the first team on our schedule because we had the home opener, unveiling the championship banner. We had Ariana Grande singing the national anthem, and we had the happy singing in front of the stadium. What a great day that was, and we destroyed the Packers, and it looked like we were going to just dominate, and then a crazy season. But so that was the answer there. So, Nick, congratulations. You were the guest on today's panel, and you ended up winning the trivia. So congratulations. Nice job, man. Nice job.
Good job. Good work. Hey, Norb, real quick, just to your little Packer interlude there, just a quick thing is really interesting for me is that day I spent a good portion of the afternoon with Mike Holmgren. And it was the most interesting dynamic. We were doing a broadcast from the rooftop that was overlooking Century League Field, and to watch every single Packers fan come up and treat him like a god, to watch every single Seahawks fan walk up and treat him like a god. I mean, at that point in time, he was the most popular person on the face of the planet. And just to be in the middle of that was just like, I can't even put it into words. It was such an incredible experience. So I really felt like that was a blessing to be able to be around such a legend and maybe future Hall of Famer in his element with both fan bases that absolutely love him. It was really cool.
Yeah, that must have been great. What a fun show to do. Season opener on the day that you know you're going to unveil the championship banner. I mean, the Chiefs will get to do it. The Chiefs will get to do it tomorrow. But man, there's very few better games than that when you're starting off the fresh season being the man, right? And that was such a fun day. That's cool that you got to hang out with Mike Holmgren. I was watching Sports Live in the ATL's show collab with Noah before we did our show, and they were talking about, I think it was Sam Dog who was talking about that it's just a travesty that Holmgren hasn't been put into the Ring of Honor yet. And I didn't even think about that. It's like, that's true. He hasn't been put in there. If he had won that Super Bowl, which we should have, he would have been in there for sure by now. But will the day ever come? I don't know, because there's a lot of guys on that team who should have gotten a ring. Holmgren, Sean Alexander, Walter Jones, Steve Hutchinson. I mean, we had some of the greatest players that ever wear a Seahawks uniform and not to come away with a ring, especially in a game where that was all their game to win and it just didn't work out. Anyway, hopefully one day he gets into the ring. But all right, so that's the end of the trivia, but we got to go to the final announcement of the winner. So let's find out who that is right now. In third place with 84.55 is Dear Theodosia. Gets third. And second is Real Keanu Chungu. And so without a doubt, number one with 9,095 points, I'm not Martin. Yes, that's right. Kansas Theodosia in 4th and Trevor something in 5th. So that's right. For a second, I thought it was a different person. So, yes, I'm not Martin. Dominated the league, the whole mess, and finished in first place. Congratulations, I'm not Martin. If you want to be on a future panel, please send me your email. Email me at norb@norbcam.com. And wait, are you going to tell me this is somebody I already know? Nick?
It's Martin.
So number 1 is Martin, and number 2 is Martin again. Martin is 1st and 2nd.
He was playing 2 characters?
Yes. So
Oh, Martin, you little sneaky guy. You have time to play a trivia, but you couldn't do the show? Come on now. No, you had to play your... So Martin was I'm not Martin, and he won it. So he doesn't really win anything because he's already a panelist on the show.
1st and 3rd, sorry.
Well, that's pretty impressive. 8 out of 12. Very, very well done. So good job, Martin, who's not Martin. Nice job on that. All right, so that is a wrap on today's show, man. We got through it. Sorry about the late delay again, but that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed talking a little. I learned a little bit of you guys, just a little bit about the scouting for the Falcons, shared some thoughts about what we need to do to get this win on Sunday. And, we got some scores to own up to when all is said and done next week. So we'll see who's closest to the pin when we see what the final results are. And I haven't thought about if it's going to be just a bragging rights kind of thing. But hopefully Seahawks start with a 1-0 record. That would be nice in a very tough schedule. So before we wrap up, I'm going to give all you guys a chance to talk a little bit about your social medias or your YouTubes, talking about what's coming up. And... that way people will know where to find you guys. Let's start with Nick.
Wait, Norb, real quick.
Yeah.
I apologize, but I really got to go.
Oh, okay. All right,
I meant to say that a little earlier, but...
Okay, no problem. Do you have time to say a little thing about your stuff? Or do you got to go?
Oh, okay, real quick. Sorry to cut you off, by the way, too, Nick. But real quick, if you guys, look for me on Instagram, YouTube, at Steezy A. Smith. I got a video or 2 coming up this weekend. I'm almost to 800. I'm at 764 right now. I think that number actually went up throughout the stream, but if you guys can get me there, please. But before you do all that, show everybody on here some love. Know my brother, Norb, subscribe to them. Show Brian some love, add him on the book, talk to him. He's a local legend, hometown hero, and I'm very honored to be on here with all you guys. You guys are all superstars. And Norb, always a pleasure being on your show. Thank you so much. And I apologize for having to leave early. But
no problem, man. I'm glad you spent some time with us. And one thing I appreciate about you, Calvin, is that you're always very gracious and you always say, subscribe and check these guys out before you even say it for your own. And you're really good about that. So I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Man, always. All the love in the world to you guys. Hope you guys have a good, blessed night. And take it easy. And Nick, congratulations again. Or Nick, did you win? Or was it?
Nick.
Yeah, congratulations.
Nick was killing it tonight.
Thank you.
All right.
Much
Thanks,
luck,
Calvin.
guys.
All right,
Bye.
no problem. Now let's go to Nick. Nick, go ahead and tell everybody about where to find your channel.
Yeah, my channel is Seattle Sports Talk, where, I talk Seattle sports. I have a new video coming out tomorrow about Week 1 preview. I'd really appreciate it if you went and subscribed and ring the bell. But before you do that, go follow, subscribe to NorbCam, Noah, follow Brian. Like Calvin said, he's a local legend. And yeah.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Taking a page out of the Calvin humility book. That was great. Let's go to Noah. I know you got a lot of videos coming up here. You talked about one earlier. Go ahead and tell everybody about your channel.
Yo, so I got a video dropping tomorrow with the 3 keys for Seahawks success at Atlanta. Also next Tuesday, this Saturday. That's one show at a time. This Saturday is the Bolt. You can tune in for 3 hours live. We're going to talk about NFL Week 1 as well as NBA playoffs, and we're going to play Boelter as always, so definitely tune in for that. On Tuesday, my show officially starts on KUGR. It was supposed to start this Tuesday, but management made us wait another week. They pushed all the shows back another week. So next week on Tuesday at 6 p.m., KUGR Facebook page, that show begins. And then also, I just got on with Cable 8 as the sports director here, which is the TV station at Wazoo. So we're going to be dropping 8 videos at least throughout the semester.
Wow.
Talking Cougar sports, talking Mariners, talking Seahawks, all sorts of different topics. So follow Cable 8 on YouTube.
All right, Brian, since we're going to you, I assume you're familiar with all those places he's talking about, right? Being a Wazoo guy?
Yeah. Oh, of course, and congratulations to Noah, man. This dude is the hardest working man in show business, and he's definitely one to watch. And once he's done with his time at Wazoo, he's going to be on to some big things. You know, when I was at Wazoo, I wasn't even in the broadcasting department. I was in communications, doing advertising, working on a campaign for Classic Coke, which probably most of you don't even know what that is, but it came out after New Coke, after they made that horrendous mistake of getting rid of regular Coca-Cola. And I was actually working on a campaign, thought I was going to move to New York and work on Madison Avenue. And then I realized I'm a homeboy. I can't leave my city of Seattle. And it took me until I was 37 years old to even break into broadcasting. So wow. You guys have got a great head start. You're doing a super job. It's so fun to work with you all. And Nick, man, you're killing it in trivia. You're killing it in broadcasting. Young dude at 13, you're going to have a great career. Now, I don't have anything to promote, but just like last week, I'm going to share a picture like I shared with Cortez Kennedy. This picture is me and Mike Holmgren on that day that we just discussed. And I don't know if you can all see it. Can everybody see it there?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
man.
that's us. And we spent several hours in that afternoon, and it was just a good time. So it's fun to have these memories and these experiences, which I hope I can share with you guys. If you have me on again, and I'm happy to do it. But I don't have anything to promote, so I would say focus on the young cats, focus on Steezy, focus on Noah, focus on Nick, and always Norb, the consummate entertainer. You got to check out all his stuff for sure, and YouTube's the place to go, right? So Norb, is your following the biggest on YouTube, or is it Facebook? Where do you find you're getting most interaction?
I think if you're going on just subscriber count, YouTube definitely is where the most are. I think I've been stuck at 37 something. I'm trying to get to that 40K mark. I'm inching closer and closer. So maybe after I drop this prediction music video on Friday, which is usually one of my biggest videos, hopefully that'll get some attention and it'll definitely be entertaining. I've been working really hard on this video, nice. So I'm excited to premiere that on Friday. But yeah, so Facebook, Instagram, and I recently got on TikTok. I'm not doing a whole lot on there, but I'm starting to release some of my old stuff and little pieces of music videos over there, and it's getting a lot of love over there. So for sure, I'll be putting parts of that prediction video on TikTok. So I have Instagram, TikTok, and the Facebook side of things, and Twitter, but definitely YouTube is kind of that's where the people have been with me since the beginning. That's where everybody's at. That's my people. Yeah. And a lot of them are on the chat still here. I mean, we had there's still people 169 people watching this, but at one point it got up to 220 something. That was a lot. So I'm excited.
That's the biggest I've ever seen. For these off-season shows, this is definitely one of the highest.
Yeah. During the season, we'll see how it goes, but it can get pretty crazy, especially during the actual games, which I'm excited to be. I'll be streaming for the first time at home since there's no games to go to. There's no parties to host to, even though I still have the video thing. The nice thing is I don't have to worry about that crappy internet at CenturyLink. I'll be using my solid internet at home, so it might actually be a better product as far as YouTube is concerned. So I at this point, I got to take that cue and say thank you to everybody who was watching and is watching right now. For everybody on YouTube, I'm also streaming this to Twitter and on Facebook. So if you guys are watching on those platforms, thanks for your support. And so everybody who contributed to the super chat, thank you guys. It means a lot. And for just and everybody who did the trivia, hope you guys had a good time. But just for being here and watching the show, I mean, that's what it's all about. And we do this stuff because we're trying to entertain and share our world a little bit with you guys. And I appreciate my guests here, Calvin, who had to leave, but Noah, Nick, and Brian, you guys make me look better. So I appreciate having you guys on. It's been great. So can't wait to do this again. And let's get a win on Sunday. Sound good?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it does.
I hope Sunday evening comes around and we're feeling good about our team. As excited as I am right now, I try not to get too high expectations when it comes to movies and shows and my football team. But it's hard, man. It's hard to not get excited about what we got right now. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I can't wait. Football is back, baby. Woo, let's get it home. Yeah. All right, so I want to say goodnight to everybody. Thanks again for watching, and to my guests, thanks for spending your time with me. And let's get this. Let's go Hawks.